Okay, guys, I'm back and hoping you can hear me well. Okay, let me close this timer. The eggs are now boiled. Okay, where we where we were. Okay, few of you have just joined in, guys. Don't worry. We have so far talked about the responsibility of solution architect. We talked about why customers moving to the cloud. We have just laid the foundation of our foundational course. So don't worry about it. It's all fine. We are going to talk about some of the concepts of. Now we are going to do a little focus on about uh, our platform. Things will start going towards our services specific. So that's is what is next we are going to discuss. And now you shall be able to see the handout in your material section, but it's fine if not. If it is not found, we can get it troubleshooted at later stage. So right now we can focus on the things we are discussing. So feel free to put your question based on what the discussion is going on. Yeah, so we can also sync with yeah. So again, if in case there is any communication problem, there is any voice distortion, or either you do not hear me well, just switch in between the audios and it should be okay. So if you have missed initial part, don't worry, nothing big you have missed. And other than that, if you have missed the initial part as well, there is a digital learning session as well. So on training.aws or aws.training, you can go and check this the same course with the name of STP, Solution Training for Partners Technical Foundation. So same content, similar content will be there. Obviously, you will not find me there because it's someone else has prepared that. Okay, so what we have discussed, very brief on our recap. What we have covered so far, talked about the AWS platform, talked about in this module on Solution Architect. Before this, some of the services you might already know, like of VM, which is virtualized environment, and in AWS called as EC2 instances. The core service for block storage, like a SAN in on-premise, you have been managing, maintaining, fixing anything, everything you're doing in that regard. Now in the cloud is EBS. Then there comes the some of the services which are entirely new, like of Lambda, like of machine learning, like of Fargate, which is a serverless again for you. Yeah. So, and then there are some of the services which you can obtain. Again, I'm going to use a word with a matter of click. You are not going to go to the third party vendor, external services for getting those functionality like CDN network, right? Akamai, Verizon, any other, not Verizon, that's a something else. Akamai, and there are other names like of uh, CDN 77 or something. So you don't have to go to the third party vendor and get the CDN network access, right? So that is as a service on the platform is available for you. Yeah, in the past, customer needed to do that, get the CDN or get the DNS, like you go to the third party of uh, GoDaddy, domain.com, and any other providers, right? So what is the essence here is to talk about things are already available onto the platform and are well integrated, right? Like for the monitoring systems, you do not have to buy an additional monitoring or buy or create your own. Obviously you can do it if you want. You have a skills or have been managing something like of Zabbix or any monitoring system earlier, you can use it, but there are services already available on the platform which are well integrated with AWS services, which you get as a part of some of the services. For example, CloudWatch. Once you obtain a VM, which is a virtual machine named as EC2 instance, CloudWatch is a part of it. So you get a part addition to what you are procuring, what you are provisioning. So yeah, so some is greater than its part, and load balancing like of ELB, many of the services are already integrated with each other. Yeah. So that's what we want to talk about. But I will showcase you as well in our small demo, wherein I will show you how to launch an EC2 instance where you can find monitoring without adding any additional resources. You can monitor your CPU utilization, network in and network out, and like that, there are many services which has an integration with the DNS services, with the CDN services as well, like of CloudFront. Okay, with that, we are going to now talk about our global infrastructure. How many regions now? 24. Availability zone 76. But Parvesh, what is that? You have likely to see seen this slide before. So and just one thing I want to mention, the CDN and DNS I mentioned in a previous slide are going to be part of our upcoming segment of building blocks, where I will talk about those services in detail. So hold tight, guys. And highly available is uh, yeah, highly available. What do we mean by that? Let me just showcase this diagram with you. So this picture talks. Oh, just a second. I had some problem once again. I'm hoping you can see my screen. By the way, have a look onto the diagram. Oh, it's a black. It's black. Just a second. Don't worry, guys. Just give me 1 second, and we will be back to normal. So meanwhile, I'm just talking about something while my monitor is booting up. So region is an isolated geographical location. For example, in India, we have a Mumbai region. Okay, so in Mumbai region, we have a three availability zone. So what availability zone is? Availability. Okay, don't worry. I'm just going to now share screen. Should be. Okay, you can see it now. Good. So what I was talking about, region. So just a second, everything will be demystified. So first, what region is? Region is at top level at geographical location. I talked about we launched a new region in Milan. So that will consist two, at least two or more than two availability zone. So availability zone is cluster of data center, as you can see in this uh, picture as well. So on the one side, you have one availability zone which has a uh, four boxes which showcasing some of the servers are inside that. So basically, one AZ is a cluster of data centers. One AZ is connected with the second AZ, yeah, which is connected by the low latency, high throughput, redundant optical fibers. Yeah, so which has a latency very low, like under 10 milliseconds. So if in case one availability zone goes down, which is typically apart at 0 to 100 miles, yeah, after studying the geography information for like 100 years of data, parsing the data, we launch one availability zone. If there's something goes wrong with one AZ, the second AZ will be up and running for you for your high availability. That's always running. By the way, you can run your operation in the second AZ with a blink of eye. So it's that embedded high availability we do have in our availability zones in our region. So on top level as a construct, you see the region, and under that there is availability zone. And one availability zone is what? Cluster of data centers. Next slide is our sorry, is going to talk about more what one region is. That will also clarify more things. So region is Regions are located in a separate geographical areas, isolated from each other. Yeah, so now right now you can see on your screen what it is trying to show the whole region. Under that, uh, what is positioned as in the white blocks is basically one AZ, and in this way there are three AZs, and those are first AZs are connected between the data centers they it has, and one data center typically house 50,000 to 80,000 servers in it. Yeah, and then AZs are interconnected with each other with low latency cables. Yeah, and given a redundant power supplies as well, and obviously uh, the ISP giving them the uh, uh, redundant transit centers are also available. So that's on the top level is one region is, then there is a AZ between that, and one AZ is cluster of data centers. In Mumbai, we have three AZs, and we have a couple of edge locations which we will cover next. With that, I'll just have a look onto the questions. So usually there are some questions comes in. If in case you have any questions, if your instances, okay, we will cover more onto how instances are connected. So if one DMZ fails, so I'm hoping DMZ, by the way, it's a term internally we also use once we architect the solution, not just with the data centers. So if one AZ fails, I think Prashant, that's your question is, if in case one AZ fails, there is another AZ where you can, which you can use as a failback option. If whole region goes down, you can have your solution housed in a different region as well as a disaster recovery. Okay, so with that question comes for solution architect, what do you want to manage? Yeah, so there are different options, different services at different level of accessibility, right? Starting from the first, your corporate data center, you manage everything yourself. Self-manage, you control the whole stack, real estate, staffing, power cooling, hardware, software, patching, upgrades. What else? Connectivity, scalability, everything from dirt to data, as we call it. Everything you do manage, design, and yeah, if something breaks, you fix whatever breaks as well in the corporate data center. Then on to the cloud side, let's take an example of EC2 instances. On EC2 instance, you are going to worry about the application only. Yeah, and some aspect of the operating system, like of patching it, upgrading it. Yeah, so AWS would provide you the underlying hardware, network connectivity, and storage. You will just choose the size, memory, CPU, and storage you need to run it. For example, if you want to run a database, you would be installing database yourself, managing backups and everything. And on the other side, there is an option to fully manage. Some of the services are managed by AWS. We manage the backups, we manage the provisioning, we manage the startup, we managing the high availability as well for the databases. So that becomes the decision which need to be made on behalf of customers, sometimes by our partners, solution architect or partners. Yeah, so why it is important? Because it is some of the services which are managed service are going to help customer to free from the undifferentiated tasks, right? So like of just patching something or taking a backup, so this can be offloaded from the customers. Yeah, so customer can focus on only optimizing their solution rather than focusing on the other tasks. So yeah, there is a different section where different services you will find are managed, and some of the services solution architect need to manage. And then there is a shared security model. So AWS does manage the security of the cloud. There are two things to notice: security of the cloud and security in the cloud. Yeah. So for example, I talked about EC2 instances. So once you launch EC2 instance, getting a virtual machine access to you, we do manage everything bottom level, like of managing the hardware to the virtualization level. So virtualization will create a machine and you will get the access of it. And once you have the access of it, then it becomes the security in the cloud. You manage, patch, upgrade, run your service on top of it. That's a security in the cloud until the hypervisor becomes a responsibility of AWS, the underlying hardware, physical activities. Okay, let's move the bar a little higher. I talked about managed services, right? If in case service are, for example, RDS in itself, which is a fully managed service. So what does customer manage there? Customer does manage there the data volumes and sorry, the customer does manage their data, manage their database index, and anything around their database rather than doing the backups, managing the patching or upgrading. That will be done by AWS. So responsibility changes based on your service model as well, which service you have opted for. Yeah. And there are some services. Let the bar is little down. So if you, this is an example, if you take some service like bare metal services, right, bare metal host, where you have access to the hardware level, we would provision it, we would by the way, what do I mean by provision? Procure it, doing the wiring and all those of stuff. You will get the access on the hardware level. You manage your host, you manage your machine on top of it. Yeah, so our underlying responsibility comes to the level of physical management. So that does change based on the type of services you are using and service you are managing, right? So that's changed the security of the cloud and security in the cloud. It's very important that customer does understand these all concepts of security in the cloud. Okay, so with that, there's a lot of stuff we had talked about. Could be overwhelming for new essays. So best platform to start or best place to start for a new essay is usually the management console, which is very intuitive. Uh, um, console from wherein you can launch these VMs, you can EC2 instances, volumes, storage, or up to the level of machine learning, right? That could be the place you would start with, but over the time you use more of CLIs, and as you grow, you will also think of building the whole infrastructure as a code, right? So will help you to build your infrastructure rapidly, very faster in a performant way. So there are services also available like of CloudFormation, which help you to completely create a stack of your infrastructure. Yeah. So that's how you start with a very core services, understanding with the making understanding with console, then further AWS as a code services like CloudFormation, managed template like that. So don't be overwhelmed. We are going to talk about CloudFormation next as well. So what we have discussed in this particular module is all these things. So let me just jump on to the takeaways. Yeah, so customers are moving to the cloud, and for them, sometimes single source of truth becomes the solution architect, who is the guide, who is the trainer, who is an educator for them. You need to help the customers further because the IT is changing the way it practice buying to the procuring to the managing the billing and everything. So that's where solution architect is going to help. Migrating to the cloud is a very complex process in a different phases, different architectures you need to form. As we have seen one of the picture, when the things comes together, they are they become magic, right? So customer need your help altogether. That's what the message is. And what are the takeaways? Very important for solution architect. Those who joined late, That's what we have discussed. Like, start with well understood tools and constructs, and then you build later on high effective services like of Lambda. Maybe it would be the next phase. Containers then goes to the other services as well. So add complexity, powerful functionality, and services later stage. Cloud infrastructure interchangeable and very dynamic. Keep on learning, keep on building new things, and some is greater than its part. You have come to one platform for a region to get the benefit of all the innovation at one place. Why to buy things additionally and then integrate them, then stitch them? It's very, very tough sometimes for many companies. So solution focus, there is a lot to learn. Think of it as a rabbit hole. As we will move forward, we will understand more and more. It's a just beginning of your journey onto the on AWS. So there is a lot much to learn on this fascinated journey. Okay, with that, now we are going to talk about our building blocks. Yeah, so in building blocks, we are going to cover all these things. So you might have some of the questions. Why didn't we cover the Lambda at previous stage? We were just letting you know the capability of the platform. Now we will talk about these all building blocks and how by the end of today's session we will bring them together and build an architect. Now you also have a handout in your right panel from where you can download the case study. The next break we will have, which will be a little longer for 50 minutes maybe. There you can read the case study. So first step is to understand the compute. So you can see on your screen, compute goes the way like starting from EC2 instances. Let me just bring the highlighter. There you go. So we'll start with the EC2 instances of where uh, you have to manage most of the things, and then we'll move on to the containers, to the auto scaling, how it is infused with the EC2 and also with the containers we'll talk about, and then the Lambda. So let's jump in. So what is EC2 compute is? EC2 is basically a virtual machine, as we talked about, as an instance running onto the AWS hypervisor. So we use a different type of hypervisor. We have our own hypervisor as well, which is called as a Nitro system. I will highly recommend you to have a look onto that because we have done a lot of innovation and optimization onto that. Using our own secret source of hypervisor, we have built a lot of new EC2 instances, new offerings on our platform. So back to the point, what EC2 instances is? It is a virtual machine supporting numerous distributions of Linux and Windows platform. So you can have a platform of your choice. What do you want? You get a complete control on the host operating system with the root and admin access in a very secure way, responsible for all installed application on top of it. So it's just a VM you require with a lot of flexibility. Flexibility, you can increase the RAM you need, you can increase the CPU cores, you can increase your EBS volume as well. If you want more storage, you can change the families. Speaking of family, what family is? This is what ECT instance families are. Guys, I'm sorry I cannot see sometimes my next slide. If in case it turned out to be a different slide, I will just jump onto that. So yeah, what families are on EC2, we call it right tool for the right job. That would be the second most used sentence for the day. So right tool for the right job, what does that mean? Is for every type of workload, you need an optimized EC2 instance. It's not like one EC2 instance can do all of the task. Like to run your website, you have a dedicated EC2 instance, different type of EC2 instance. To run compute optimized like of SAP workload, your high computing environments, you have compute optimized EC2 instances. Next, for memory optimized, you run databases, right? You have 1,000 transactions running at the same time. 10, 15,000 at one time. For that, you need something which is optimized for from the memory point of view. We have memory optimized instances, accelerated computing, P3, P2, inferentia chips. Then you have G family. So if uh, appetite is not covered by CPUs, you need guys GPUs. We have a solution for that. For machine learning, go for the GPUs. It's available on demand. You can have with your EC2 instances. And very amazing thing now we have with this all EC2 instances, even you can have additional GPU as well. That's an advantage. Just wanted to highlight. I will show you in demo as well, if in case we can touch upon that part as well. And then there is a storage optimized. What about your analytic workload? What about your batch processing, which is required for which has to be storage optimized. So for that we have storage optimized workloads type of EC2 instances as well. So more to that, you can go and visit this link. Certainly this slide will be shared with you in a PDF form and you can visit them. So the thing here is that right tool for the right job. We have a different instance families for different type of workloads. Yeah, if in case you are not certain sometime about the type of workload you are running, we have a service called as a, what was the name of it? I tend to forget that. So it's a compute. Okay, someone will tell you in the chat. So I'll tell you in the break next. It's called as optimize. Sorry, compute optimize something. So you can use that service, which will help you. Okay, so next, if the question comes, what is the meaning of types and sizes of EC2 instances? You will see these such type of names like M6G, 16x large. So starting from the left side, instance family like M will denote it is a general purpose. What general purpose is basically right balance between compute, storage, and your memory, right? That's instance family. And we'll talk about it is powered by ARM based or it's a Graviton. But this particular one, M6G, is a ARM based processor, which is created by AWS. We have one company acquired a couple of years back named as Annapurna, which does this particular thing, create chips. Yeah, so which has a right balance between the prices and performance. Okay, so speaking of instance family, this will denote the instance family like T, M, C, R, and then there is a generation like 3, 2, 4, 5, 6. So as you move up the next generation, it is more optimized, more performant, and faster in responses. So new generation, new technology is infused with our latest type of EC2 instances. And then to size it, we have everything in the t-shirt sizes like small, micro, large, double XL, 4XL. Yeah, surely 16XL won't make sense, but in once you are going to buy t-shirts, but in the instance it does. So it will talk about how many CPUs it does have, what's the memory in there, and all things together. So yeah, that's how you will define your size of EC2 instance. Okay, so next one is the purchasing option. So it's very important for solution architect as well. So not understanding from the point of view type of workload you are running, but also what type of workload you are running. Yeah, so in terms of purchasing as well, right? So we have 4 type of purchasing options for your EC2 instances. First being the on demand. So you are paying for the compute by per second and by per hour. Like for Windows machine, if you are using any VM for 2 hours, you will be paying for 2 hours only per hour. So you don't have to commit anything for a very longer period of time. You just use it for a day, 2, 3, 5, and you can stop using it anytime and you will pay as you go, as much as you use. But you cannot use usually, or it's not recommended. You can use, by the way, it is not recommended to use for committed workloads. For example, database that is going to sit there for whole year. Why do you use on demand, which will be slightly higher as compared to the other type of purchasing? Why? It is like on demand is like purchasing ticket directly from the uh, airport counter, right? You go there and say, I want to book a flight, which will be a little costlier, right? So that's how the on demand is to think about. So it is good to run your spiky workloads, your test and dev environments. That's where on demand is good. And then there comes the next one is a reserve instances for your committed workload. So I do like to take an example of SaaS provider. So SaaS provider have a committed customers, like they have running, let's consider 1,000 customer already, which have subscription for 1 year maybe already. Licenses are purchased. So for them, they are committing the workloads to run. So for them, you can go for the reserve instances, which will have significant discount up to 70 to 75%, 50 to 70%, somewhere near that. So if you commit for 1 or 3 years, any type of instances, you get significant discounts. So you have to have a committed workload for that. So that's what solution architect thinks of in well advance as well. Yeah, and then there is a spot instances. Spot instances to be considered as a unused capacity. Basically, it's an unused capacity in our in our data centers. As I have showed you, we have a cluster of data centers are running. So not all the time, all of the data centers are used at their maximum. So there is a capacity which is not being used. We give that out on 90 up to the 90% discounts for those EC2 instances. But there is a one thing to notice: as the demand increases of that particular type of EC2 instance. For example, for SAP, you went for X type workload, right? X type instances. If the demand increases significantly, we might take that EC2 instance back with a warning of 2 minutes. So just make sure the workload type you are using it with is a fault tolerant. Yeah, or dev or test which can bear downtime or yeah, so which is not time sensitive as well, right? So you have to be cognizant about where you are using spot instances. By the way, this is a best place to optimize your workloads. Sorry, optimize your cost as well. So spot instance is an area in itself to have look into deeply. So I would highly recommend to understand the uh, uh, understand about these spot instances altogether, right? But one thing I want to mention about spot instances: 95% times it doesn't get interrupted. These all stats you can find on our website as well, caused as you can find on Google, named as a spot advisor. So you can find which EC2 instance type was taken, how many times it was interrupted, right? But for getting a significant discount up to 90%, you can go for the spot instances. So in example of SaaS provider, for example, I want to run any analytics on any which is not critical to run as a workload, I might use the spot instances for that. And one of the example I take in India as a one of the biggest taxi provider in India has used spot instances to optimize their cost for their search prices application. As you know, search prices runs for 1 or 2 hours only, right? Typically when there is a huge demand from the customers. So they were running everything onto the on-demand earlier, which was putting a lot of money into that. So we help them to optimize the cost by using the spot instances, because there is a one thing another in spot instances that you can block the time as well. So if you want spot instances for between 1 to 6 hours, you can use block spot. As mentioned, there is a lot to discover about spot instances. You can have a look onto that. On purchasing type, this is the third type, spot instances you can purchase. Yeah, and then there is a saving plan. It's entirely new concept, but just think of reserve instances. It's similar to that, but with more flexibility. As for our customer demands more flexibility, we have come up with the saving plans. There are two type of saving plans. First is the saving plans for the all compute. compute, or for a couple of services you are using the EC2 instances as an underlying platform. So you can put together their compute consumption and commit dollar per hour for a period of 1 and 3 year, or 1 or 3 year, and you get significant discount up to 72%. Yeah. So this area, another, I will recommend you to have a look on our videos where it can tell you more about it. If in case currently you are using reserve instances, you might be looking forward to go to saving plans, which gives you more flexibility. Yeah. Okay. With that, let's move on. It's very essential for solution architect to make a decision on purchasing as well. We will cover that in our well architect framework, how, when, which way as well. But before that, let's talk about auto scaling. So what auto scaling is? So auto scaling talks about the dynamic nature of cloud infrastructure, right? So as your demand increases, you add more capacity. You stop guessing the capacity. We started in the morning talking about that. So the set of tools AWS gives you, one of them is auto scaling, to increase or decrease the capacity you provision. So you do not over provision anything, you do not under provision anything. As demand increases, you increase the EC2 instances, you add more EC2s automatically. As it is reduced, you remove or retire the EC2 instances. For example, if there is a sale over the weekend, you can dynamically add more EC2 instances, and you can put the triggers, by the way. So what it does, for example, I would put a trigger like whenever my EC2 instance consumption, CPU consumption increase over 90%, trigger a CloudWatch which will tell autoscaling to launch new EC2 instance. You can put maximum, minimum, and desired capacity, like how many EC2 instances you need at at one given point of time. Like 6 EC2 instances might be giving the right performance. You can maintain that all the time, and obviously add more capacity. Yeah, so that's overall about the autoscaling. So it keeps the capacity balanced across AZs, so you can decide which AZ you want to launch your EC2 instances. By the way, this is a smarter application which takes care of it. If you have 3 availability zone, you have 6 EC2 instances, it will evenly spread across, like 2 to 2 in each AZ. So that's how autoscaling span across. So maintaining the right balance. So it is integrated with ELB. We will cover that next. So I will stitch both of the things together when I will talk about ELB, how it is used with autoscaling. So replace unhealthy and unreachable instances. If something goes down, autoscaling will understand someone is not keeping up well. Let give task to new EC2 instance. Policy based, integrate with the other AWS services. Again, I want to talk about the sum is greater than its part, like it is integrated with dynamic scaling, it is integrated with ELB, it is integrated with AWS WAF, DNS, many other services, right? Use cases, dynamic scaling. Yes, we have been talking about that. Dynamically scaling, reduced cost, and manage pricing as well. So we talked about in the previous slide about spot instances. You can launch spot instances with auto scaling as well. If you think like, oh, you need a for several minutes CPU utilization is going to be peaked, you need a spot instance maybe for couple of minutes or hours. You can launch a spot instances, so keep your cost at check with that. Okay, so that was about auto scaling, and then comes next the ECS. So the question comes, what do you want to manage? You want to manage the whole Docker platform by installing yourself, managing the networking around it, or you want a platform which has a managed Docker already. You bring your containers and you run it. So what this is, ECS is Elastic Container Service. Most of the services will start with the name of elastic in nature, right? So that's what we are going to discuss. So this is easy on container solution. uh, in case of these services, AWS provide the platform on which customer can manage Docker or Kubernetes containers. However, customers still need to take care of container management as well as the container functionality, right? So it gives you manage EC2 cluster, offloading a very huge task off from the users and eliminating the complexity of operating the container infrastructure by giving you managed platform. Bring your container, start using it, right? And manage your cluster. And then use cases, deploy microservices to speed innovation. So over a period of time, once you start with EC2 instances over a and then customer may want to convert to a new architecture when moving to the cloud. Obviously, we talked about digital transformation. After a certain time, customer must explore more functionality on the cloud platform. So SA here must consider if this change is right choice for the customer given their overall solution right now. Yeah. So there will be little trade-offs in the initial stage. Yeah, so to minimizing the architectural changes, you might not start with the containers in the beginning, but it's important to consider it over a period of time, maybe in the next phase, given the skill set after the migration. So how you build your skill sets, you can go for the ECS or any other EKS service. So by the way, at base level, ECS and EKS is managed uh, uh, containers for Docker platform where you can run your containers. And then there comes the Fargate. Now I'm again going to ask you what you do want to manage. If you don't want to manage the scaling itself of your containers, by the way, it's a container as a service. You bring your container, throw it on it, scaling will be managed by itself. You can launch tens of thousands of container in a matter of second. Everything will be taken care by AWS. All you need to do is to focus on your containers on your applications, right? Right. So AWS takes care of the complexity of the platform. Yeah. So right now, I think if I remember the numbers correctly, around 70 to 80% new customers who are running their containers workloads start with the Fargate. So they don't have to run into the complexity of management, complexity of scaling up the containers or scaling down. It is our own container platform to run your containers seamlessly. Fargate. Fargate comes with manage ECS and manage EKS. And then comes the AWS Lambda. So it's a different beast. We know that. We had a lot of discussion around it initially, what Lambda is. So Lambda is a managed compute service that runs the customer code without having to manage a virtual server. So what we used to do, like let's talk about previous slides, EC2, you have to manage your compute. Then if in case you are running any application, you have to write your code on top of it, whatever you were going for that. You do that, yeah, manage a patch and everything. And then next comes the containers where you encapsulate the whole application between a container, which has all the libraries, all the dependency between the container. And then what about next level? So serverless, where you do not have to manage anything onto the compute side, onto the infrastructure side. All you need to manage or all you need to write is your code. So it gives you an integrated IDE, integrated like with the Cloud9, we have our own IDE where you can write down your code, which is called as a function as a service, and it will be triggered based on your events. Events like any HTTP, HTTPS trigger, you using API gateways for that. Maybe you post a picture in S3. S3 has well integration with Lambda. So when I put a picture in our storage, That picture will trigger an event. That event will take that picture and convert the my picture into a mem. So yeah, you can write any function onto that. So that's how the well integrated the system in with each other. So this Lambda service has changed the equation how customers are running their operations, totally moving to the microservices using the Lambda. So Lambda is a function as a service. So as a developer persona, you will come and write down your code. That's it. And rest will be taken care by the platform. It is built on 100 millisecond of increments, and for how long your code is running, your function is running, you will be paid according to that. So, for example, if in case you are a uh, uh, let's take an example of uh, education provider, like you are having any solution for your college, for your school in your summer vacations. Your school might not be running that particular application where all the students record is kept, right? So you do not have to pay for the compute. You might procure running onto the EC2 or maybe onto the container, right? Your code will exist there, your service application will be there, but nothing will be running, so you will not be paying for that. So that's the beauty of Lambda. If someone triggers any of the event, you will be paying for that duration only. Yeah. Okay, with that, we have covered the compute part. Sorry, I won't be able to see the questions coming uh, coming over, but yeah, I'm pretty sure that my team is helping you with all of your good questions. So guys, let them come in. It's a safe place. You can ask as many questions as you want. Okay, so next we are going to cover the storage part, which is in which we are going to talk about S3, EBS, and Glacier, which is a part of S3. So on a higher level, there are three types of storage we typically have. It's first is block storage, then is object storage, and there is a file system, another type of storage we consider it, right? So we are going to touch upon block and object storage. So what EBS is, typically, essentially, we talked about SAN storage in the morning. So that's what is EBS is. SAN storages are attaching to your compute. Here, EBS is attaching to your EC2 instances. That's the similar thing, yeah. So this is a sort of bare metal version of AWS compute, yeah. And storage is yeah, so storage ABS is attaching. So you have to imagine a data center which has a thousand of racks for the compute, and there is a thousand of rack for the storage, and those are attaching. Once you are launching an EC2 instance, ABS will be taken from those racks attaching to the your compute. So that's where we think of persistent storage, right? So persistent storage, like volumes you have attached to your hard disk. That's what the EBS volumes are like. You can create multiple you can attach multiple volumes to one EC2 instances. Format supported, like extension for NTFS. uh, yeah, so that's what you can attach with your EBS volume, you with your EC2 instances. It is scalable, high performance storage for the application. So you can again, it's elastic. You can add uh, more capacity as your demand increases. Yeah, so up to the 16 TB. Up to 16 TB, you can create one volume of one EBS volume of. And another beautiful thing about it is, for high availability, we keep a one backup of EBS volume in the same availability zone as well. Yeah. So on to the high performance, you can choose between if you want more IOPS. IOPS is input output operations per second. You can add as much as IOPS you want. There is a certain limit, by the way, 80,000, I believe, at max. But yeah, you can do that. And it is used typically for boot root volume for EC2 instances, used for SAP, Microsoft Exchange for low latency workloads, and relational and NoSQL databases are supporting million of users using the EBS volumes. Yeah, we will see what exactly EBS is in our demo. So stay tuned for that. And next comes the simple storage service, one of the service which we launched in our initial uh, days. So we launched EC2. We launched next one was SQS was one of the initial one, SQS and S3, and there is EC2. So S3 is what we came up with the idea of storage for the internet we require. Like everyone does require, it's a sort of a Dropbox where you put any data, any unstructured data from videos, files, doc, PDFs, backups, anything you can put in there. It's a storage for the internet. It's a highly scalable, so infinite storage. Effectively, you have it reliable. We keep the data backup. If you put a one picture on S3, it will be housed in three different availability zones automatically. You are not going to do it any. Uh, you do not have to run any automation for that sake. It will be done by system by default. Yeah, so highly available, highly durable, highly reliable, and very fast to download or retrieve your information. And S3 not just to be considered as a storage dumping zone to put any of your data in there, but it acts as a Swiss Army knife. Yeah, so you can run your static website from therein. You can upload the data from your edge location for a faster upload using the transfer acceleration of S3, uh, and many more. Yeah, so we'll see that in quick demo. And then and use cases, you use S3 for application file hosting, you use it for backing up for your disaster recovery, you use it for static web hosting, streaming data, live streaming data like of Netflix, Hotstar. Many of the companies leverage S3 for different purposes, and obviously creating the data lakes. So structure, unstructure, any type of data you put onto the S3, then from using the different tools in the cloud for analytics and big data, you can parse that information directly from the S3, running the queries from there on. And next is to talk about the storage classes of S3. So again, once solution architect is going to put any data onto the S3, they have to make a decision. If it's a warm data, it's a hot data, it's a cold data. Based on that, you use the tier of S3. There are typically 6 tiers. Yeah, so every tier has a different pricing and different attribute. So like standard is standard one, where you put the data and you can retrieve at very faster rate without paying anything to retrieve the data, which is frequently accessed. You would surely wish to put your uh, data into the standard tier. And then there is a standard infrequent access. For example, your backups, database backup, yeah. So which might or might not be retrieved. Yeah, infrequent, and I would like to say it uncertain to download as well. So there is a cost associated with downloading the data, basically retrieving the data. So which is more likely to not to be downloaded, you will be putting into infrequent access. And then there is a one zone. So I talked about it does keep the data backup in 3 availability zone by default. So there is a one type which doesn't do it. That is one zone. It will keep the backup in a one only. This will keep the data in a one zone only, one availability zone. Yeah. So, but obviously it comes with lower prices. So if in case if there is anything which is not much critical, you would like to go with the one zone infrequent access. And then there is a glacier, which is a cold type of data you want to reside in there. Archival data is a storage for the archival. Yeah, giving you the same durability and high availability, but very very low cost, like 0.004 dollar per GB for archival of the data. You can do that. And then there is another one, deep archive, which is at way cheaper prices. Yeah, so with this this is a intelligent decision need to be made by the solution architect where to reside their data based on their usages as well. Like one zone which is not going to be used much, you will be keeping into the one zone which is not that critical. So it is very important to ask these questions appropriately sometime with the customer, uh, if this data is very critical for them or not. If not, you might be putting into the one zone itself only. Yeah, so there are some of the trade-offs which need to be made here. And then Amazon S3 for data lakes. So from the data ingestion, there are a couple of services. There is a processing and analytics. Once you have data dumped onto the S3, you can process and analyze that using the multiple AWS cloud services. Then comes the different database it has integration with, which can directly put the data, and for giving the permissions, accessibility, and protecting and securing as well. So yeah, remembering I was referring to consider S3 as a Swiss Army knife. So by combining it with the right adjacent services, its value can be exposed. Like uh, using it for data ingestion, having integration with many other services. So think of like a building block here. Once again, we talked about building blocks. So S3 can act as a central part of the building blocks. So if you go back to the slide I showed in the morning, which was uh, uh, which was sharing how the data was being injected and being processed, that's very much will be demystified, understanding how data lakes are created on top of AWS using S3. Yeah, it's a very important topic. I will highly recommend all of you to at least try once how S3 is created, or how you can put the data onto the S3. Okay, so the next one is AWS networking. I think we can have a break before we discuss networking. It's been an hour. I've been speaking a lot. So let's take a break for 10 minutes. Then we will resume our part. Then we'll continue with the networking. Then we'll have a quick demo to understand how things bring together as a solution. Yeah, how you can create EC2 instances, how you can create S3 as well. Okay, so I'm going to put now a timer for 10 minutes. Catch you after 10 minutes. Okay, guys, we are back. I'm hoping you had a good break. Got up from your chairs, sofas, or beds, and hopefully had a walk. So we can come back and concentrate Yeah, so I could see there was one question on the RAID volume, which type of RAID you can use. So yeah, onto the RAID with using the AWS solution, you can use multiple types, 0, 10, or depends upon your, by the way, uh, on your uh, software you are using, system operating system you are using. But yeah, you can typically use uh, 0, 1, or type of you want to use. Yeah, all are supported there. Again, depends upon your platform. Okay, screen must be blank because I just switched on and I made a success, by the way, launching the screen once again. And let me relaunch slide once again. Where are we? We were now discussing, we are about to discussing the networking part. So we discussed compute, we discussed storage, which was the most essential part. Yeah, and next comes the networking. So networking, we are going to touch upon several parts. First being the VPC. So what VPC is? Uh, just I used to talk about the EC2 Classic before I talk about VPC. So what EC2 Classic was in our initial days, once we launched the EC2 instances that had a name called as EC2 Classic. And that time we didn't have the VPC with us. So any EC2 instance which was launched would be like a free sol flying in the cloud. So to secure your application in that cloud space, you had to put the security groups, the firewall on your EC2 Classic level. Yeah, so there is a nothing was like of VPC, which was a securing cloud environment was there. So what VPC did with VPC, we could create a LAN network sort of thing. Yeah, so it's a basically isolated virtual subnets in the cloud. Like you have your organization, so let's consider it's Wipro. So they have their own internal networking, which has once you connect your laptop to your LAN, you will have a dedicated IP given to your host, right, to your machine and everything, whichever machine you connect to. It will have a private IP given to it, and then it will have a internet tunnel sent to your tunnel sent to your router, internet connectivity, and then there would be limitation what you can access, what you cannot. That would be whole LAN, right? Your networking environment. So that's what VPC is in the cloud. You get your own isolated networking where you can host your EC2 instances, not just EC2 instances, your databases, your different services is integrated with the VPC, which you can house within your network, not free flowing over the public cloud, right? So yeah, that's what the VPC is. So you can launch your machines in a secure environment, very secure and performant, because multiple VPC can connect to each other. It's not limited to have one. It's not limitation that you can have one VPC only. Soft limit is that you can have 5 VPC in a one account, but you can obviously increase the limit. So then in one VPC you want to put your all production system, and another one it's all development system, so it doesn't have a accessibility with each other. There is a no overlapping, uh, no problem with giving the specific accessibility to the user. So I would, as a trainer, will have access to a particular VPC where I can do my demo testing things around. On the other hand, my developer will have a different VPC. So you can design in a variety of ways based on architecture. So solution architect is the main integral part of designing this all networking, and that becomes your landing zone, by the way. How do you plan your networking onto the AWS? In initial time, once you will start learning AWS as your first step, this might be a little overwhelming, but trust me, guys, it's still better than understanding the hardware side things onto the router switches. This is a networking on software based in the cloud. So in my first experience, by the way, I have worked with Wipro for 6 7 months, so I'm ex Wiproids. So I was a networking associate, wherein I have seen that from other part of the world. So getting GUI access, CLI, and not GUI, by the way, it's the CLI access, and running, finding which port is where, what is up and down. That's very easier here to manage, because hardware part is being managed by whom? By AWS. That's a shared responsibility model. So yeah, switches, routers, all their redundancy is managed by AWS, and you get cloud networking access, wherein you can create your own public facing VPC, which you can, sorry, public facing subnets, which can give access to your low risk or no risk servers to everyone, like a web server where you have to give access to everyone, right, to access you from the outside, and confidential applications, databases, such things you can keep in where, in your private resources. So that's how you design. Okay, with that, let me bring my pen. There it is. So that's private and public subnet you can create. Organize, isolate application components. Yeah, had a discussion about it. Extend on-premise network into the cloud. So you run your application on on-premise because you just invested into hardware like $100 million, and you still want to use something onto the cloud for leveraging the scalability of storage maybe. So you can connect using the VPC, your secure account. You can have access to that. Okay, so VPC next is again some definitions. What can be done? It's on logical isolation section. VPC also allows you to programmable networking infrastructure. You can program that using cloud formation. Yeah, you can create the whole infrastructure very easy, quickly. You can launch in whole VPC entire environment. Yeah, so you can create subnets, routing, and give a very limited access to the user. Okay, so yeah, next part is to understand the VPC data center connectivity. So moving data into and out of the cloud is an important architectural consideration. So I always bring the discussion back to what solution architect has to consider is how the data will go in the cloud, how will data will come out of the cloud in a most secure way. Yeah, so that depends on many choices. Like you have to think the unique situation there, how much data customer is using, depend upon the if it is in a megabytes, it is in a gigabytes, in a terabytes. You have to use a different service for that. Yeah, so what is the value of the application? Does it merit the investment into a direct connect? We will talk one by one each of the service on the slide. You can see first, if it is a normal service you are accessing for a short span of period and not a high confidential, you can use over the internet normal accessibility of your resources. Yeah, you can access your VPC over the internet, or if you want a secure access, you can use VPN, virtual private access. Yeah, so you can create VPN, which is software based, in a matter of minutes using the beautiful console. Yeah, but obviously VPN is over the internet. As you know, right now we all are, most of us at least, connecting using the VPN to our data centers, or maybe to our companies using the VPN connectivity. That's over internet. Sometimes you might also feel some of the glitches, right? You might agree right now. So yeah, you can use VPN connectivity as well, or maybe if you want a dedicated bandwidth, 1 Gbps or 10 Gbps, you can go for the direct connect, which is a service provided by AWS partner network. So our technology partners, like few of you in the call as well, like NetMagic, and they are our technology partners. They help to get customers the direct connection as well, which is a dedicated bandwidth between AWS and our partners. From therein, you can pull it. Yeah, so very easy, by the way, services to use up to this level. And next one is not going to be again difficult. It is a private link. So like S3, EFS, and many other services having their endpoints internally. So what we do in private links, if EC2 wants to connect to S3, right? Why it should transverse over the internet? Let's connect them over the AWS backbone, AWS network, so it will be faster and at the same time secure. So for that, you can use the private links as well. Yeah. So it will expose, like S3 will expose its own endpoint. So all the communication within the account will occur using that endpoint. And then there is a ocean of S3 from that endpoint. Okay, pardon my scribbling. And next is ENI, yeah, Elastic Network Interface. In the networking world, there is a lot of requirements comes in from a different industry, different LOBs. You require sometimes to add more Ethernet port to give it a Elastic IPs, or you want to give it a. You can also assign a security group to ENI, Elastic Network Interface. It's just an additional interface if you want it. You can add it. Like we add an hardware Ethernet port uh, in our laptops or in our computer. So you can add a ENI, Elastic Network Interface as well. And then now it's a graphical representation of how direct connect. Just a second. Yeah, now it is on your slides. So how VPC is connected here over the VPN is done this way. Customer gateway, customer data center is connected using the internet. And then there is a direct connect, 1 Gbps or 10 Gbps connectivity between AWS and provider. And from therein, you can have a connectivity or VPC directly, which will give you consistent bandwidth. Yeah. So next is yeah, by the way, direct connect is not just to give you direct connectivity access, but also, as I talked about, to data put, to migrate as well, you can use a direct connect. For a consistent upload of any data, any database files, log volume, data volume, you can use a direct connect as well. Yeah. So at some point, there can be a question that direct connect could be more expensive, but yes, it gives you the it guarantees you the consistent bandwidth as well, so you do not suffer from any loss of connectivity over the VPN if you're uploading anything. Okay, so ELB, next one is ELB, guys. Do you remember we talked about auto scaling at some point of time? We'll come to that, but before that, let's understand what ELB does. It is integrated with the auto scaling, but before that, let me pull it off. So this is my availability zone 1, this is my availability zone 1, 2, and I have millions of active customers. Lucky me, like my website has been very famous, hypothetically, and that's what ELB does. So I have running maybe 50 odd server in here and 50 odd server in here, or maybe 30 here. So to balance the load between them, ELB will be the front face for all the communication on the application level or on the networking level, and that depends upon the type of ELB you are using, elastic load balancer. There are two types, application and network load balancer. We will cover next. So yeah, what will happen? So if I am running 50 EC2 instances in there, it will balance the load based on the traffic right now transversing between the servers. And if in case out of 50, 10 of them having CPU utilization more than 90%, if I have put a trigger onto that, it will add 10 more capacity as based on my trigger point, as based on my threshold. Might I will ask that launch 10 new more in a different availability zone, right? So yeah, it will add more capacity between your availability zone. So it's integrated and incorporate the scaling up and scaling down automatically. That's what ELB does. So we talked about it takes care of healthy and unhealthy EC2 instances. ELB will find that state of your EC2 instances. Pools AWS cloud and on-premise resources seamlessly. Yes, it is. It is covering that, and it integrates with Route 53, Internet Gateway, and IAM roles as well. Route 53 is a DNS service. Will come next in our slides. So I talked about load balancer are typically three different types. So first is ALB. Third type is not that famous. By the way, it was famous, but mostly now services going for CLB can consider usage of elastic load balancer. Yeah. So we are, by the way, slowly recommending customer to use ALB instead of CLB. Okay, so load application load balancer is best suitable for balancing the load of HTTP and HTTPS traffic for our port 80 and 443 generally, and provides the advanced request routing targeted at the delivery of modern application architecture, which includes the microservices, containers. It is mainly used with. It works on the layer 7 application layer. Yeah, and on the other hand, if you have a high traffic coming in, yeah, so if it is a high traffic coming in, lots of I would say millions of uh, requests or millions of users are hitting on your solution at the same time, you might go for the networking load balancer, which is best suitable for balancing the load of TCP, UDP, and TLS traffic. Yeah, where extreme performance is required, you can use it. You can use networking load balancer, capable of handling the millions of requests. Yeah, so CLB not covering, but by the way, it's a right balance sometimes between the ALB and NLB as well. So that can be used. There you can use CLB. And next comes the CloudFront. So one thing we have not discussed about on our construct level, I kept it for this segment. So we talked about, guys, once again, they said repeat, but yeah, it's important to repeat sometime. It's a region, and within region you have availability zones. Availability zone has a cluster of data centers, right? And those are interconnected with each other, right? In India, it is Mumbai, and here I am in New Delhi, right? So let's not take an example of New Delhi. Let's consider I am in Jammu and Kashmir, so which is a more uh, northern part of India, right? So if in case I am accessing anything from like S3 bucket, which S3 bucket is in Mumbai region, yeah, in my region of Mumbai, S3 is there. I have my 10 Mbps picture or maybe a video where I'm singing in there, and I want to access that. It will go over the internet and get that file for me. Might take a little more time as compared to if in case I had anything nearby my region. So like if there would be a point of presence in the northern part of India, for example, New Delhi, right? So CloudFront is that actually. So content delivery network. So we have in our major cities like in Delhi, we have couple of uh, couple of edge locations. Yeah, so point of presence. So all over the world we have 216, more than that now. So you can get the content delivered to you from your edge location, which will definitely be faster because these edge location has a faster connectivity with AWS regions, right? Rather than going over that, you can go directly to the edge location and get that content from there directly. Yeah. So I will send you all the information. How many education do we have in India? But I'll certainly share three or four in Delhi, Hyderabad. There are a few of them in Chennai as well. So we have educations all around the India to help for the faster performance and better customer proximity. Yeah, so first time once I will watch this video, we'll go to the S3, but next time onwards, my request will go to the CloudFront Edge location, find out does it have the content I'm trying to access exist there or not. If not, first time S3, if there is, it will be provided from there. So this location will act as a caching location. Caching, yeah. So CloudFront is the name of service which is a CDN service, by the way, delivery network. We call it as a content distribution network. Also, we take a name as, and like of Akamai, we have it's a similar to that. Yeah, so we are span across in more than 40 major cities, I think 70 around, and all across the globe we have 216 edge locations. But if in case you ask me question, okay, we can get the data faster, but if in case I want to upload the data to S3, it will be the similar scenario, right? It might take time. So for that, we also have a service named as a uh, transfer acceleration, which is with the S3, by the way. Remember, S3 is a Swiss Army knife, so you can upload the data as well, which will be faster. And CloudFront is a physical data center. Yes, it's a data center. And then there is another feature is offloading the TLS termination. So all the HTTPS requests are coming in an encrypted form, so you want to decrypt that. That's what offloading of TLS is. So if this is done on a CloudFront side, so your application running in the origin will not be having this overhead of terminating the TLS connection as well. So it makes it better use of CloudFront as well. So CloudFront is the name of the service which is leveraging the edge locations. Route 53. So DNS. This is a core service and it's a part of sum is greater than its part as well. So it's with the 100% higher availability. Route 53 is a basic DNS service. So whenever I go for www. Or Amazon.com, it will go to my ISP, Internet Service Provider. From there on, obviously my first request goes there. And from there on, it will go to the DNS resolver, which will find who is this, who is Amazon.com, help us find. So it will resolve further. There is a global, by the way, infrastructure is there who finds out where this website resides. So faster you are found, more faster, you can give content to your customers. So that's what Route 53 does. We have our own global domain name system, which help to find the answers faster, resolving your website names faster. And you can also purchase the domain name from using Route 53. Like you can find, if in case you are willing to launch a new website, you want to give it a name, against your public IP address in a human readable name, you can give it you can purchase, by the way, a domain from there as well. It comes with 100% SLA and critical tool to integrate with many AWS services. For example, most of the services are web-based services where you need to need a domain name. By the way, you can get it from Route 53. So very useful in a different scenarios. For example, it is used for optimized routing. Another scripting I'm going to do, which I will try to make little sense out of. So this is Mumbai. This is Singapore. So more India and Singapore, and here is the Route 53, where you will you will have the users connecting to your website www dot whatever.com. So it finds it out, then it will send the traffic to your region, from there on to your availability zone. And what does work on availability zone, guys? ELBs, which will further load the traffic, right? Balance the traffic. So what if in case this whole region goes down? First, let's consider internally. First, if in case the whole availability goes, there are two availability go, there it is. If availability goes down, load balancer will send the traffic in here. If in case the whole region goes down, Route 53 will be informed by ELB, man, there is something going very bad. Why don't you send traffic to Singapore to take care of everything? So Route 53 will send it to Singapore. So that will for your failover optimizing, if in case there are users nearby your geo, yeah, in India from anywhere, it will automatically find uh, uh, geolocation based routing. It will send it to the nearby location. For example, in India, my website is in Hindi language, so it will send it to India region. If in case it's uh, in different language, I can send it to, from the based on the geography, it will be sent to the nearby region, so where I can have a website written in a different language. So you can have that benefit of using Route 53 as well. Okay, this diagram is now should retire. But last thing I want to pull off here, if in case you want to send traffic 55% here based on your user consumption, 45% here, you can do the weighted routing as well. Okay, that's Route 53. It accommodates the extremely dynamic requirement of the cloud. Yeah, so good. So that's where we talk now all of terms in regards to networking. So let's have a very quick demo wherein we will talk about VPC very briefly, storage and compute. So let me just bring my console. And by the way, why I do this demo right now, let me just first talk about it. Herein, I will also talk about IAM. Yeah, so I will also talk about CloudWatch, CloudTrail, little bit about CloudFormation. So uh, since sum is greater than its part, once I'm launching the EC2 instance, obviously it will have the monitoring in it. Why don't we talk about CloudWatch here? So guys, yeah, I will just showcase here, but we will definitely talk about them again onto our slides very briefly. So this is my URL for the console. Once you will access it, it will land up you onto the login page. So this is my account ID. This would be typically your email address for your free tier of account if in case you are using. And this is my IAM user. IAM is going to first authenticate me, and then based on my authorization, I will be run the operation inside the console. Like if I am allowed to access S3, if then I will be able to access S3 only. So permissions we are going to talk about. So this is my name of user and password. If in case I had a MFA, which is a multi-factor authentication, then it would ask me to add a secret key as well, which I will have it on my device, which can be physical device or a mobile device. Yeah, using Google Authenticator as such services. So how to create IAM username? You can create directly from here. So let's first talk about IAM. Okay, so here is the IAM. IAM is what? Who I am. It will tell you the identity of yours. So it's good to start with the IAM. So what IAM you can create user roles and groups. Don't worry, don't put any question right now, because we will talk about this in further coming slide. But important to understand what IAM is. You can add a user, like today I am going to add a demo 2. Yeah, it says demo exists. That's fine. Let me see on my view as well. So I am not. So I am in sync. What I'm showing onto the square slide. Okay, so I clicked onto the print. However, I wanted to zoom it so you all can see it little clearer. So guys, first step, you give it a name, and I'm a developer. Then if in case, then I will give it a programmatic access. So I will only be do the nerdy things over the CLI. But let's be a little soft on it and give the management console access. So likewise, I logged into this console. I need a management console access, and let's give it a auto-generated or customer password, whatever. So high security if you want to create a new. So next step is about you want to add it to a group. You can give it a add it to group. Like for example, uh, group is uh, group is like for example, you want to have a developer group. You want to have a admin group, so they will inherit all the permission once the user will be added to the group. So you can group as well. Yeah, so next is creating a tag. So you can give it a tag. This is name for like demo only. Yeah, so you can give it a name and then review it, and you can create a user. By the way, we have not assigned any permission to it, but we can certainly do that. So there is a new user added, which is with the name of demo2. So I can add a permission, which permission I want. There is existing policies from the user we can give it, or I can attach a new policy to it. Like if it is admin, I will add the admin access to it. Okay, so that's how you create a user in a management console. So let's jump on to the creating the EC2 instance. So EC2 is a virtual machine. You go to the running instances, and that's where you start launching the Amazon Linux. So I talked about you have full control on the OS. So from here in, you can choose your AMI, Amazon Machine Image. You can choose Linux. You can choose Windows. And here for the demo purpose, we are going to use Amazon Linux. Yeah. So we had a number of instance types available, different families. So from here in, you can see which type of EC2 instance you want for your purpose. Like for GPU, for machine learning, you might use this type. Memory optimized, from here you can choose that. From a demo purpose, we're going to use T2 micro. And next is to add more details. So which type of purchasing? If in case you want to go for the spot instances, here is the current prices, current price of the type of EC2 instance I have chosen. So 0.0035. If you are ready to pay $1, yeah, you say that okay, I'm ready to pay up to $1 as the prices increases. So you can keep it as well. Yeah, you can request the spot instances for that matter. For that demo, we are going to go for the on-demand only. So here you have the VPC. So VPC is your virtual private cloud, where you want to house your EC2 instance in. There you will use the network, and then you use the subnet. Which availability zone you want to keep it into, you can choose it from here on. Subnet. If it is a website, web application which is going to be connected from the outside, you can also give it a public IP address automatically, and then there are other options. You can give it IAM role to the EC2 instances. For example, as a demo user, if I log into this EC2 instance, I will be able to do everything an admin can do. Like I can interact with S3, I can interact with the SageMaker, any other service. If in case I want to limit that access, I can also give the limit, or I can give the additional access by giving the IAM roles. And then there are other options. You can go through that. By the way, in the beginning, I talked about you can add GPUs by adding the uh, inferences as well, inferences chips. Inferentia, you can use the Elastic Inference Accelerator here. Okay, so that's what was about adding the detail. Obviously, with the free tier, you can find more information. The next one is to add the storage to it. So by default, it comes with one EBS storage, one EBS uh, for your OS operating system with 8 GB size, but you can add as much as you want. Yeah, so obviously be cognizant about the performance issues if you add like 1,000 of them, but yeah, certainly you can do that. You can add 100 GB of size, 500 GB of size, and based on that you will get the IOPS as well. Yeah, so as the size is increased, you can see the IOPS is changed as well. And you can choose the different type of volumes types available, like for storage, which is going to stay there for a longer period of time. You can use a low cost option as a magnetic type, or if it is high performant you require, you can go for general purpose and as such. And definitely you can delete on termination, or you can keep it them. And encryption on the go, you can choose an encryption as well using the KMS. KMS is Key Management Service from AWS, which keeps your private key, public key secured in environment. Yeah, so you can encrypt the data at rest as well using the KMS. Okay, so I'm just keeping one volume, and next one is the tag. Tags are very important. Metadata is important uh, for your machines. Like I'm just giving it a named lambda delete after 6 p.m. So if in case I want to write a script in my lambda, I will go for the value delete after 6 p.m. and delete after 6 p.m. or shut down after 6 p.m. It will automatically, I can write a script in lambda as well for that matter. So if someone asks me what are the use cases of lambda, this can be one of them. Yeah, you can use the tags to pull that off. Security groups are firewalls or the permissions onto the EC2. So who can so what can be accessed is a website. You can open the port like 80. You can open any traffic, all traffic, whatever you want to limit, you can do that certainly using the security groups. Who can do it? Based on your source, you can change if it should be limited to a particular IP, or it could be limited to it could be for everyone. Yeah, you can do that anywhere. That's it. That's much you need to do to launch an instance. So we are now launching an instance. That's it. So in a matter of 1 or 2 minutes, it will launch an EC2 instance. So let's go there, and now let's understand what exactly monitoring options do we have. We talked about CloudWatch. So here the CloudWatch is, you can do the CPU, you can check the CPU utilization, disk read operations, and disk write, networking in, network out. You can also have your custom metrics, and yeah, you can create an alert as well. So like this is one of the example. If you want to reboot this instance or terminate instance, you can do that. You can put a condition to it. Whenever maximum CPU utilization is over and above 95%, reboot this instance. Yeah, so you can do that. You can put any policy in there. So now it will alert it. It will reboot the system when the instance will be at the 95% of its capacity. Okay, so that was about how to launch EC2 instance. This is right now in running state. Sooner when the system checks will be done onto the hypervisor side, host side, I will be able to access clicking on the connect, and I can have a browser access as well. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Your EC2 instance is ready, and you can install your application database or whatever you want onto that. Okay, so public IP is here. So you get a public IP address with your EC2 instance as well. Yeah, so your EBS volumes you can find from here in. The volumes are attached with it. 8 Gbps we took it uh, for your memory. Okay, guys. So this was EC2 instance launching. Now, very quickly talk about S3. How you can create a bucket in S3, and uh, from there we will also talk about the CloudTrail, which is a management service as well. Okay, why it is showing the white screen? I need to refresh. Okay, there it is. So we had been talking about the you are click away from your regions to launch your application in a different part of the world. So from here in you can find a number of global regions we are available in. Yeah. Okay, so in S3 you create a bucket. Your bucket name has to be globally unique. So demo 34 2020. So you can choose a region where you want to host or put your data into. So let's do it in by default Northern Virginia. It is secured by default, and that's pretty much it. I have created a bucket now. So so where is that? There is a bucket is to be considered as a bucket is considered as a folder created. So I can upload any file into it. Yeah. So for example, if in case I want to upload this role play guide, which I shared with all of you, I can upload it directly, even though I should have chosen the other option. Let me just do that. Yeah, just to showcase you something. So yeah, once I go with the now should be on your screen. I'm not in sync with my screen and what I'm talking about. Okay, so if I click on next, you can limit the permission, who can read it, who can write it. And the next one, once I click on next, you get all the 7 tiers or 6 tiers, 1 2 3 4 7 tiers where you want to keep your data into. Yeah, you want to keep it in the standard tier, standard infrequent access, one zone, or glacier directly. So for demo purpose, I'm keeping it into the S3 standard one and uploading it. Yeah, so it is available now. So once you click on it, you can get a URL to access it from anywhere. So if in case I send you across this URL, you will be able to download it. But remember, I kept my bucket and content into it as not public. So yeah, I need to open it for the public as well. Then you can limit on the bucket level or onto the object level. And as remember, we had a lot of other features. One of them is to talk about is transfer acceleration. To upload the data, you can use a transfer acceleration. And then there is a static website hosting as well. So using uh, S3, you can also host your static website by posting your HTML file directly into the S3. Onto the management side, there is another automation which you can trigger, like the files I do have. Uh, I want to send this file to different tiers. Like I want to archive these files after 30 days automatically to the Glacier. I can add a transition in there. So I can put a life cycle. You can see I can transit this file after the number of days I want, like 30. It will be sent to the Glacier automatically. And also, if in case I want to purge the files, I can add a timeline to it. Like after 700 days, almost about, sorry, 2 years, it should be deleted. It will be done automatically. I acknowledge, and we are done. So yeah, that's a very quick demo of S3, how you can do the things in there. And one thing here to talk about, you can see the CloudTrail logs. So what CloudTrail is, everything onto the AWS is a API based. So everything I'm doing is just an API request. So every record is being recorded by AWS in the service named as a CloudTrail to track the user activity. So like uh, I created EC2 instance that will be recording. I created a user that's also recording who did what at when is all information is available and where as well. So where do we use it? We use it with the compliances. We use it with the audits. We can use the CloudTrail as that service. Yeah. So all the records you can generate here, and you can save into the S3 as well. So that's what I wanted to showcase with the S3 with the combination of CloudTrail. Okay, so back to our slides now with the database. Let's talk about our databases. We have a lot of databases available. We call it right tool for the right job. And for relational database, for not for relational, non-relational, and NoSQL databases are available. So first is the RDS, Relational Database Service. Yeah, now we are back to the slide, guys. So this is a managed service, including the support for the 6 database engines. So Amazon Aurora, which is our own brainchild, we have created the database for the cloud operations. And PostgreSQL, MySQL, MariaDB, 3 of them are open source relation database. And then there is a commercial grade database is available, Oracle and SQL Server. If you want to migrate, you can migrate using the DMS service, database migration service, from on-premise to the cloud. So it handles the time-consuming database management tasks. So I take you back to the time when we talked about what do you want to manage? Do you want to manage backups, point-in-time recovery, patching, and everything? If not, RDS is the best place to start with. So you can get a database prepared for you. You can gain the access of it and start managing your data on this. Yeah, work on your existing code, your application, rather than focusing on the undifferentiated heavy lifting, uh, undifferentiated tasks as well. So use cases, any application that require a relational database, RDS can be used. It improves the performance, availability, and scalability down there. And Aurora, Amazon Aurora is our own brainchild. By the way, we have this database available with the compatibility of MySQL and Postgres relational databases. So it is uh, 3 times faster to operate MySQL workload into the Aurora as compared to your own on-premise, because we have tuned it a lot. We had been using it in our own internal Amazon.com workloads, yeah, and Postgres as well. I think it's a 5 times more faster as compared to that, or vice versa. And yeah, so it is available. You can migrate from your on-premise again using the DMS, and it's a part of RDS service. You can migrate to the Aurora directly. So higher performance as compared to the standard MySQL, high availability without complex server management. Again, of uh, taking all of the task of creation of the database instance to backups management, everything is done by AWS. So it can scale up to 64 terabytes per instance, and also can support up to the 15 read replicas for the higher performance across the region as well. So read replicas can be created across the regions for reading the data from in as asynchronous read replicas across the globe. You can create read replicas. So this is the one of the service which is the fastest growing in the AWS history, and we have thousands of thousand customers using Amazon Aurora to run their relational databases. Like we have SAP hybrid solutions running onto the Aurora as well. And then comes to the DynamoDB. What if in case you want to move out of the relational database to the non-relational database, NoSQL, so which is called as a NoSQL. So for that, we have a solution called as a DynamoDB, a database offering with the single millisecond performance, higher scalability, elasticity, a lot secure and highly available solution, which is a serverless, by the way. You just need to create your own tables and you get single digit millisecond latency at any scale. Yeah. So solution architects should consider DynamoDB for all NoSQL applications. Where you need a very rapid response for your mobile application, for computing application candidate, for faster application candidates, for NoSQL workloads. That's where you use the DynamoDB. Yeah. So it is, by the way, it is compatible with the document DB and or not document DB. I mean by that document type of NoSQL. They are typically four type of NoSQL databases. Yeah, graph, key value pair, document, and there is a width column, width, something like that. So it is compatible with the document as well as with the key value pair. So there is a additional benefit. There is a one thing called as a Amazon DynamoDB accelerator, which is also a fully managed service. So it keeps the in-memory cache, which can reduce the DynamoDB response time from millisecond to the microsecond as well. It has its own caching mechanism called as a DynamoDB accelerator. Use cases used for big data, gaming, Internet of Things, high performance computing as well, high performance database application as well. So with that, by the way, this is not it. We have a lot of other databases called as a Neptune. We have a Cassandra, managed Cassandra, which is compatible with you're running your own Cassandra or HBase. What type of workload you have? MongoDB. If you have a MongoDB running on premise, you want to migrate it to the cloud. We have a document DB. Document database also available where you can migrate all of your MongoDB workload onto the cloud. And we have also timestamp database as well for your forecasting as well. Yeah, so many type of databases are available. We call it different. We call it right tool for the right job. Based on your application, you can choose among the long list of databases available. And next is now onto the security is IAM. So we have definitely covered this part. So to log in, to access AWS resources, authentication, and for authorization, you use IAM. You can give the you can manage fine grained access control using AWS onto the AWS resources. Many services are compatible with it. So it's by the way, the core service you will start with. Yeah, so you should have a good command on how to manage IAM to give a granular or fine-grained access to your users. Yeah, so it's a very essential for solution architect to nail it, to understand it in and out. It is also integrated with your Microsoft AD for your Active Directory you are running already. And also if you want a federated access using Amazon.com, Amazon credentials using Facebook or anything, you want a federated access, it is also supporting that. KMS, key management system. You remember while we were launching EC2 instance, we had EBS volumes configured, attached, and EBS, we could encrypt the EBS volumes, right? So that's where we use the key management system. So using those keys, we can encrypt it, and this is a managed service that will simplify the management and use of encryption keys. Yeah, so sum is greater than its parts. Once you use EBS, you get KMS, and like that, we have a lot services which is integrated with EBS, or which is integrated with KMS, like of S3, Snowball, ECS, Amazon ECS container service onto the database side, RDS, DynamoDB, all are integrated with encryption management system. So this service, particularly KMS, is integrated with. So also with the CloudTrail, if you remember, we looked at all the logs where it was being recorded. What I was doing on my management console from auditing point of view, you can also encrypt that information. Yeah. So if in case your third party auditor wants to check it, you can encrypt it and share with them as well. Then next comes to the shield. This is a guard against your distributed denial of service. So what denial of service? Typically when hackers attacks on your environment, how they sending a lot of traffic from unknown resources. If in case it's a one source from where on from where they are attacking, you might mitigate those challenges. But if in case it's a distributed attacking from a variety of areas, different areas, right, it become very difficult to manage that. That's called as a DDoS attacks, right? So for that, we have a service called as an AWS Shield, which helps to uh, protect against those attacks. By default, we have two types of shield available. One is Shield Standard, which is as always on protection by default based on our well-known attacks. It takes care of them. Yeah, monitor network flows for the quick attack detection. And there is a AWS Shield Advance. So if in case there's a new type of attack is happening and there is a lot of traffic being flooded your application and you are not able to operate anything, you can use Advance Shield there. It has an cost associated with it, but with that, a lot of benefits as well. Like it gives you a access to the team, which will be activated 24/7 to help you with that, with all those attacks. Will add more bandwidth if your bandwidth is being chogged by your by the attackers. And also after attack has been mitigated with the collaboration with our AWS team, if it was a very spike in your usages as well, like of your network bandwidth, there is an associated cost with that. We also gave you the credits back, so you can save that cost as well. So it's a lot of other advantages using the advanced shield. Yeah. So like that, we have a lot of other security features. Definitely we cannot cover all of them, like of inspector, like of uh, we have WAF, which is web application firewalls. For your web application, you can limit the accessibility, who can log into which port, from which IP. You can meticulously operate and manage everything on a WAF level, on a web application firewall level as well. With that, we have covered the security part, and moving on to the management tools. So once we will be doing our case study, most of the services we have seen today in this building blocks will bring together and see how those build an architecture. Yeah. So next one is CloudWatch. So everything with the name of the watch represents like it is watching something. So it is watching your resources, how it is being consumed, what is going in them. Yeah, and like with the EC2, it checks your CPU utilization, checks your reads in, reads out, and if it is a DynamoDB, it will check the transactions happening in there. There are different metrics around that. So CloudWatch is there for monitoring purposes. Yeah, obviously you can use it with the for the alerting as well. Like it is used for the cost management as well. You can alert yourself when your cost goes above at one certain point, like $20, $50. You can put an alert onto that. So yeah, you can also create a very nice looking custom dashboards as well to find out what was the trend over the week, over the month. You can find out how your EC2 instances are responding. So CloudWatch is a monitoring application or monitoring system. CloudTrail. So not to repeat it again, it's recording all of the API calls within your environment. Who made the API call, when it was made, what was the API call about, all those information, use cases, security, compliances, troubleshooting, remediation by uh, automating any response. You can do that. Cloud formation, last service to talk about cloud formation. This is very important for the solution architect. So it helps you to manage your stacks of your resources using the JSON and YAML template files. So we created a VPC, right? Inside the VPC, you had EC2 instances. Think about from a very larger side, like imagine you have 100 of EC2 instances running in a different VPC in different subnets. If in case you want to test something on a production scale, which you are going to uh, put into the production next month, how would you test it? You want a same replica of your live system running, right? And launching all of those 100 EC2 instances, creating those VPC will be a very cumbersome um, efforts to do, right? So what you can do in that regards, you can create your infrastructure as a code. And that's what CloudFormation does. So you can create your own template for your training system. You can create a different stack for your QA server, which is quality analysis, where you want to run. You can create a different template for that. And with the click of a button, all the resources, all of the configuration will launch in a new VPC, new subnet, and everything. You can design your IP range as well. So that's what the cloud formation is. It is the heart of infrastructure as a code. You can have a very consistent deployment of solution architectures at a global scale in a different part of the world. I don't want to use the word in a matter of click, but yes, you can do that. It's just one click away by launching thousands of server in any part of the world. CloudFormation is there for that. Okay, so we have covered from compute to management resources to storage and everything. What if in case you have a very specific needs, your customer wants some service which they have been using for many years, like of Citrix, like of F5 load balancer, those are available on our marketplace. Yeah, so on a marketplace, different categories are available, like operating system. If in case you want a SUSE Linux, which is compatible to run SAP workloads, there is a tailored images are available on marketplace. From security point of view, from networking point of view, we have more than 5,000, close to 7,000 ISV contributing in there by their applications. They are creating on or with AWS, integrating them with the AWS platform, and selling off those solutions in the pay-as-you-go fashion. So you can go and check those services as well. Like in machine learning, if you had been working on Databricks for a very long period of time, you can find Databricks on Marketplace. And that is also well integrated with our machine learning platform, SageMaker as well. And there's a lot of data products. Different variety of categories are available for you to explore and to use those environments. Yeah. Okay. So with that, we have covered our building blocks. So before we move forward to have some of the inputs coming from you, like what has changed from the time we started in the morning and to now, right? We have talked about a lot of services. We talked about from lens of solution architect, how to think about purchase, how to think about services, how to think about building a resilient architecture, like thinking about in high availability zone. If you want high availability zone, what you would do? So you will create your solution in different AZs, right? So yeah, you have to think from a different lenses. Yeah, that we will have some quiz in coming few of the slides. But before that, let's have a break. This would be a break for 12 minutes, guys. If you want to grab something, feel free to do that. And yeah, after that, we will move forward with our second last segment of today's session, which is a well architect framework. And then we'll have a case study. I'm hoping you all can see your handouts. Sorry, there are some. Yeah, okay, I can see. So it's there. You can download that case study. You can also read it out while the break as well. If in case you are not able to read it, it's fine. I will also summarize about the case study um, once we will be going through the uh, debrief section. Yeah. So if in case you can read, it's fine. If in case not, don't worry. Okay. So with that, I am going on mute and putting on the timer. Okay. Okay. We all are back now. So now moving on, we are going to discuss about well architect framework. What's that? We'll demystify very soon, but before that, there are some questions on your screen. Usually in our classroom, which is which is not virtual, we get these answers directly from the audience, but we won't be able to do that in our virtual session for sure. So I will be guiding through those questions, asking those questions to myself, and again answering myself as well. But yeah, I will be hoping that uh, you will define what the trend is going on with those questions as well. Yeah, just try to demystify. That's very essential to understand what well architect framework is. Okay, so just a little recap. We talked about in the morning about why AWS, why cloud altogether, and then what changes once you move from on-premise work to the cloud. Initially, as a solution architect in building, you might uh, begin with making an understanding with the core services, and further on, not getting overwhelmed, you start building up your competency slowly and slowly, and focus on the customer priorities, what they are looking forward to manage first, right? If they want to pull off their databases from on-premise to the cloud, then further on moving to the containers, and then to the microservice architectures uh, with the Lambda, serverless, Fargate, and others services. Yeah. Then once you define it, what the priorities are, what you are going to follow in building your architecture, then you move on to understanding what is the capability on the platform is available based on the customer priorities, customer requirements, and everything. And that changes a lot of things. Once you dive deep and understand customers' um, requirements, then you find what can be done onto the platform. Then we talked about from the virtualized environment using the EC2 instances to the serverless environment like of Fargate, like of Lambda. And then we talked about the storages and different tiers. Solution architect has to understand what type of data you are going to reside onto the platform. Based on that, you will choose the different tier types. And S3 not to be used just for the purpose of dumping the data, but also it caters multiple benefits like hosting the static website. So why do you use a static website hosting? Right, once at the same time when you have a choice to run the dynamic website onto the EC2, if there is a problem with your dynamic website, you want anything for a fallback option, you can divert the traffic to the S3 to point it out there as a static website. So yeah, you can do that too. S3 cater many purposes. And then from there on, there are a lot of management resources, a lot of resources for the security. Obviously, for this particular session, we cannot dive deep in many of uh, security features in details, but as shared by our by my colleagues, a lot of links with you guys. Just try to visit after the session. You can understand more in details like of Inspector, WAF, and organizations, and many other tools are available there. Yeah. So then we came on to the databases. If you want to manage yourself, go for the EC2 instances. If you want to manage resources, RDS is a solution, and you want a cloud scale, fast, low cost database as Amazon Aurora you can go for, which is 1/10 of the cost. And one thing I think we did not focus on, which would come a lot in our case study, also that how to create highly available databases as well. So if you are going to manage it yourself, yeah, in that regards, you will have to write your own scripts for the mirroring of the databases, right? For creating the high availability. But if in case you are using the RDS or Aurora, you will have multi-AZ available. So you are just a click away by launching resources in different AZ as well. If in case your primary database goes down, secondary will be available, and synchronous replication is managed by AWS automation from the backend. All you need to do is choose the option multi-AZ. Yeah. Then from there on, we moved on further, and now we have come to the point. Okay, we have talked a lot. Now, what about things are going to change once you move to the cloud? Right? So there are many things, by the way. This change impacts many aspects. Yeah. So what about finances? You moved from capex to opex entirely. You are going for maybe on demand. You are going for reserve instances. It affects the operation altogether. What about the engineering effect, which is being changed? Hiring and training, monitoring, approving like who will have the access to RDS, who will manage the IAM, everything. So a lot of things change once you move to the cloud, right? So right from the people to the processes to the operations to the platform, it's entire different transformation. So cloud definitely brings the change at many aspects. And then there is a point come to understand, and usually the question posed by the customer, how secure is my workload on AWS? Yeah, usually the security is the primary concern of the customers. They will ask this question a lot, but there is a lot of FUD out there as well. And solution architect, as a guider, as a trainer, as an educator, needs to prepare to answer these questions. So understand, what does security mean? It's contextual. It raises a question about compliances, standards, best practices, auditability, data classification, operational processes, so many other things which is considered into the processing, into the security. Like if there is a auditability, I would think of using the CloudTrail, right? So I can understand who is doing what. Monitoring point of view, CloudWatch, so understand what matrices are important to the customers. Yeah, that's changed entirely. Onto the cloud, now you have to think about how to leverage those matrices, those operations, those services. And then there are other aspects on the resilience. Yeah, so how can AWS improve the business continuity and disaster recovery? I'm moving my workload to this someone else data center. How highly available they are already. So for example, many customers looking at AWS for a highly available infrastructure provider. Why? Because there is a study that we have the 7 times lower downtime as compared to the second largest provider. Yeah. So customer would be willing to know that your capabilities of managing the infrastructure, and also in regards to the that's on to the infrastructure side, where is the it's a your provider influence is there, And onto the application side, you have to understand the applications you are creating in the cloud, how you make them highly available. Yeah. What are the services are going to help there? How customer manages their RPO and RTO requirements for a specific application. Like for SAP, which is a mission critical application, it will be like always zero downtime, like or near zero downtime. Or HANA database, you cannot afford any downtime. So yeah, different applications has a different RTO, RPO. You have to consider that as a solution architect. Yeah. So next one is, let me be in sync. Okay, now it's on the screen. How the question would come that basically, how do I measure and compare workload performance in the cloud compared to the on-premise? So this question requires solution architect to engage the customer in a discussion of the metrics they want to observe, they want to use, like how they measure the performance right now. It's for the web servers, it's a CPU utilization, the number of users, what the use case is there. So what are the most important metrics are to them? Yeah. So what are the tools they are currently using which can be used, or somehow they can be uh, they can leverage anything onto the AWS platform for scalability, for increasing the performance onto the operations. And then usually the question would come, which is the biggest uh, biggest focus and as well as most changes you would find is, how does it cost? It is going to cost when they run once they run the operation in the cloud. Will it cost more? Yeah. So, or will it cost lesser? So you have to answer that for on behalf of customer and help to optimize the resources once they move to the cloud. Yeah. And also determine what's their current cost onto the on-premise, so you can do the right comparison and tell how over the period they will be break even once they will have the optimized cost once running operation into the cloud, right? Okay, so there will be a lot of questions. So what we have covered in all those questions, by the way, 5 specific pillars where I talked about first the overall operations once you move to the cloud, many perspective in that, from people to business to everyone. Then there comes the uh, security, resilience, operations, performance, and cost. So basically, we talked about everything. Once customer move to the cloud, they have to take care of it. But what about now people who are new to the journey, right? They need something which can help them to guide to the cloud, which has the best practices available to follow, right? So for that, we have AWS Well Architect framework, which was launched after reading or understanding a lot of architectures, thousands of architectures by millions of customers running onto the AWS, doing their study, understanding their best practices. We created this framework. It consists number of around 50, 60 odd questions on 5 different pillars, yeah, which we will talk about shortly, and how customer can build on top of AWS considering those best practices. That's what the Well Architect framework is. Yeah. So Well Architect framework is going to help you with increasing the awareness of architecture best practices. I want to call out one YouTube channel which you can all refer to, named as a Well Architect framework. They in the morning we saw one slide where it was very web things are there. It's very typical looking architecture was there, right? That kind of architectures our customers demystify in those videos. Have a look onto that. They are following Well Architect best practices and forming their uh, architect. So that's our solution architect for the customers are going to follow on. So you will create your resources, you're building your architectures using that consistent methodology for all the architecture. For the customers in the automation or customer in the different industry, you will use the best practices to run onto the cloud. So this is not just a secret sauce. We kept it for to showcase our large enterprise customer or some specific customer. It is open for everyone which can have a look onto it. Yeah, so it focuses on all of the aspects from the admin to the developers to the different personas. Yeah, so we will have a very brief look onto the demo. I actually do not have a demo for that including into my section, but I will be willing to showcase it to you very briefly so you can make an understanding. But it is free of cost. You can go and explore it. Yeah, so there are different pillars as well. As you move forward, first you start with a normal work well architect framework. Then further on, you can go for the serverless well architect framework as well. We have a new well architect framework launched over the period of time. Yeah, so what well architect framework composed of? Pillars, 5 pillars, the design principles to create an application. Yeah, and then there is questions around that. Question like for security, how do you manage your security incidents? So you have to answer that. If in case that's not it's not something you are aware of, there will be complementary videos, white papers associated with each question, so you can understand things in details. It will guide you thoroughly as well. And like you have to define your workload. Like I saw one question, if it is suitable for SAP workloads or SAP administration. Yes, it's a cloud. Any workload, SAP, Oracle, database, anything you are migrating, you have to go through specific pillars to find out how those are relevant to you. Yeah. So YouTube channel name is Well Architect. Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's a Well Architect. I'm just confused. So it's a it's a Well Architect YouTube channel name is that. Yeah. Yeah, it's in the sent to you, all of you. You can have a look into that. By the way, because for the partners, very specifically, I want to call out many of the partners are competent to run Well Architect reviews, which is called as a WAR. So you can go to your customer and ask them if they are okay to run their not war with them, but yeah, review to find out where you can optimize the cost, make the infrastructure more robust. So right now in this situation, when customers are looking to optimize the cost, you can go and run the Well Architect review for them for the cost pillar, right? You can do that certainly. Okay, so that was all around why, when, how you can use Well Architect framework. Let's dive deep into the 5 pillars. First being the major one, operational excellence, security, reliability, performance, and cost optimization. If you have figured that out, like questions I was asking in before this segment was on based on these 5 pillars. What changes once you move to the cloud? Even before migration, you have to consider these 5 pillars. In after migration, you have to reinvent the things. You have to when I say reinvent the things, I actually mean by finding out where you can optimize the cost. You can make your processes more agile, right? So let's dive in the first pillar, which talks about the operational excellence. It talks about your ability to run and monitor system, to deliver business values, continually improving processes and procedures, right? So preparedness. Before you move, what's your preparedness? What are those priorities? I am a healthcare provider. My all the data I keep onto the cloud would be uh, patients' information. If I am based out of US, what are the compliances are required? HIPAA, right? So from the compliances side, you have to prepare for that. Yeah, so that's a good example. And operation. So once you run the operation, understand the operational health with the metrics. When your EC2 instances, when your operations operating EC2 instances, web servers need to scale up, right? What are the events will be important to monitor? So running and monitoring is the center of it on the operational excellence, and evolving over the period of time. Learn from the experience, and share those learnings with your team so you can iterate, you can improve further on. So this is how basically it is segregated. First pillar area is to prepare you. The question would be how to determine what your priorities are. You will write it down with this. It will help you to context there that this is the basically question context, why exactly we are diving deep into preparedness, understanding the priorities, so you have the best practices followed. So with the best practices, it will tell you what exactly need to be followed, and with every pillar you have associated service. So for example, with operational excellence, there are many services to monitor, like CloudWatch would be the core service here for the operating, right? For monitoring, you can use the CloudWatch. For preparedness, you will consider cloud. You will consider the compliances. Yeah, you will consider if platform supports SOC 1, SOC 2, SOC 3, or HIPAA, whatever. So you prepare for that. And then there is a next security. Next pillar comes on to the security. So what does security talk about? Your ability to protect the information, systems you are running, and assets while delivering business value. So one thing you would find common, everything around your running workload onto the cloud is directly proportional to deliver the business values thoroughly, right? So you have to consider your IAM roles, keep the zero trust there, give the granular access to your users, not like developers have the access to the console. It can help, by the way. I'm just talking about if in case they just want to write scripts onto the CLIs, why to give the access to the whole management console, right? So be prudent about your accessibility, reactive control, and such as on. So for example, be prepared for the incident responses. How are you responding to the security instances? With that, I just want to talk about one of the customer. It's a big name, Netflix. We all are using it. They run the security checks by putting their production system down deliberately. You might be thinking, in the past 5-10 years, Netflix was never down, so how they do it? So that's what they prepare themselves on, the best practices. That's how they prepare, by the way. So they put their production sometimes down deliberately, find out how they are responding to the incidents, how the traffic is routed using the Route 53. There is a by the way, open source applications they named as a Caius monkey. So it's a whole Caius family, Caius monkey family. You can find a lot of open source tool. You can try it yourself, but yeah, obviously you be prepared if in case you put down your production. Uh, it may impact. So try it on non-production and do the game days. So the essence here is that for the security, try to do the game days, try to hack your system, give accessibility to someone. So that's where we will talk about the best practices followed on, like how do you respond to your incidents? Are you considering the logging? If yes, what are those services? Are you using CloudTrail, Cloud Config? Config. Are you using the CloudWatch? That would be the pillar where it will help you to guide you thoroughly. Then few of the pillars I have not included, but definitely you can make a judgment. Like if in case from the resilience point of view, you will talk about how infrastructure's high availability can help you. Putting your workloads in a different AZs can help you. From database point of view, enabling multi-AZ can help you. So there would be a particular question around that. I uh, I included the cost optimization part. Like the question context would be the ability to avoid or eliminate unneeded cost or suboptimal resources. Cost-effective resources, matching the supply and demand with the approaches such as auto scaling, Amazon EC2, right family choose you have chosen for your right type of workload, and you optimize over the time by taking advantages of new services or features. If in case I ask you to name one of them, I talked about saving plans, right? That's what we launched by the end of last year in the October. So many of the your customer might be using RIs already, reserve instances, which which is lesser flexible as compared to the saving plans, right? So you can once you run the optimization review with them, if that is on to the verge of uh, ending the term for 1 year or 3 year, you can go for the saving plans, giving you the again 70% of benefits. So yeah, that's how you can run the reviews and find where you can save for the customers. For example, if customers are using on demand, why don't they choose reserve instances for their mature workload? Run a review for that, understand their consumptions, understand their performance. Yeah, so that's how this well architect pillar comes into the play and help you guide you thoroughly through your journey, while your journey, after your journey onto the cloud. So that's a very important part. So value proposition is giving the consistent approach to review architectures, not just with one customer. You can run the war for multiple customers. Learning from one customer can be implemented for different customers. For as a partner for you, it's a what should I say? It's a very important resource to follow on, because you work with a lot of customers having different architectures. Every customer has a different needs. There will be different architecture to review, to parse, to optimize. Yeah. So understand and reduce risk in the architecture, influence future architectures, make it better. We talked about play the long game and you keep on improving as you go further. Accelerate cloud migration by using the right approach. So you do not have to go back and fix the things if in case something goes wrong, because you're already following the best practices, using the best uh, information available and given to our partners, customers by AWS. Okay, this is in the architecture. How does it look like? You add the information like for SAP workload, you add information there. It find on the 5 different pillars and you get a report out of it and you can use it. Yeah. So resources, by the way, this all will be available for you in the slides will be shared with you. There's a white papers, there is a video, there is everything available for you to uh, for this guidance on the well architect framework. But as promised, before we go into debriefing of our case study today, let's have a go at how does it looks like in console. Did I close my console? Let's log in very quickly. So there are some questions. Meanwhile, I can have a look onto that. My team is doing their best to help you. After a period of time, if I'm not able to continue, like move to different cloud provider, how easy is it? We are not getting you into any lock-in, sir. So as you know, it's a pay-as-you-go. The services you are using is not locking you in. Yeah, so it's entirely a customer's choice. The flexibility is given. And I'm happy you have asked this question. Okay, so next one is well architect. So you go to the console. Let me see what's going on. Yeah. So this is a well architect tool. I can see, guys, there is a little, not little, it's like 5 seconds of delay. I'm already in there. Yeah, now it is. Okay, so Here, example I have taken, so it does take time, so I have already prepared example. So you choose your workload type. Yeah, so it gives you this sort of report in there, which will tell you how many things are in the high risk, which need your maximum attention, and which are in the medium risk to fix. So continue reviewing. So that's how we review. Let me wait for to render it at your site. Yeah, there you go. So what you see right now onto the left side is a pillar of operational excellence. It consists typically 9 questions which need to be answered on a different verticals. Yeah. So for example, let's take a cost optimization. So very important onto the cost is how you are governing the cost as well, because sometimes you do not have any inputs. What exactly and where exactly you are spending a lot of money. Yeah, to optimize the cost, you should know and explore your usages as well. So from a typical question point of view, it will ask you how do you govern your usage, establish policies and mechanism to ensure that appropriate costs are incurred while objectives are achieved. So that's what the context is about. Do you remember we were using tags in there? So tags are very important to track your consumption as well. So on to the right side, it talks about how you manage the policies, how you manage the resources. So that will give you a lot of information around that. Yeah, how do you govern your usage? Sorry, not it was on the cost, it was onto the usage. Yeah, that is directly proportional to cost, by the way. But yeah, once you understand your governance onto the IM level, you will understand who is spinning up how many services, how many resources, so you can keep a track on it. So, how do you plan for data transfer charges? So there is a best practices followed. You answer that. Based on that, you get a benefit of having a right approach. So you have a using the caching solution, so you can find out how you can mitigate cost or you can reduce the cost, not incurring a lot of data charges. So following these best practices on a 5 different pillars can give you the best architecture as an outcome. Yeah, so this would be a place you would like to have a look on to. Okay, I'm hoping that you have made a little more understanding with well architect framework. Usually when we see it very first time, it is sometimes not able to understand the things around that. But once you open the console, try things out, play here and there, because it is of no cost. It's just answering the questions based on the uh, requirements. You will understand what exactly the context is there. Okay, we have an online video as well. So online training, which you can visit. It has this ID 12049. You can have a view onto that. I will share this slide, which will have this information into it. So now with the case study, guys, I'm not sure how many of you might have read. My screen is not moving. Okay, now it took probably 10 seconds. So case study, I need also to open the doc file. So as far as I remember, it's been a couple of weeks I ran this session. So what exactly in this case study was, there is a company, there is a company solution named as a persona. They are running right now, and this uh, what does this application do is basically giving access to their million of active users. It is an application which is recording user information like name, age, their purchasing type, if it is a their licensing type, and every information onto that. Yeah. So, but this application is created 12 years before. I think it was not 12 even before that, but last time they revamped the application was 12 years before. Since then, they have not modified anything. Still running on their traditional environment in their data centers. but they want to migrate to the cloud, not because everyone moving. Their reason is different. Their reason is that they had faced some challenges around their scaling, challenges around their automation, challenges around their uh, resilience. They were not reliable. They do not have a reliable platform because they faced the downtime, because of which many customer even stopped using it because of the downtime. Yeah. So there is a lot of reasons this company has to move to the AWS, specifically to the cloud. Yeah. By the way, I'm just debriefing, not showcasing anything onto the slide. So, so what are the customer goals is to be scalable, highly available, and cater the customers, like they are expecting more than 100 million users coming in. Yeah. But also with all of these of functional requirement, they have some additional requirements like to optimize the cost. They are currently running on Oracle. As you know, they are into some punitive licensing terms. I think last year, Oracle sent an email. That's not around the case study, but yes, that's the truth. They sent an email to all of their customers stating that if in case they move to Azure or they move to AWS, they are going to double the prices for their licenses, and customer wants to get out of it. And all the another motivation for them to move is that they are on to the end of life of their hardware. So that's what is going around with this company. By the way, there is a slide, another slide into that where we will go into these specifics as well. Yeah. So these are the requirements. So this is now on your slide. You should be able to see that. Uh, it's a more than usual delay right now. So they have a millions of users right now. They have tested around their current load, which is 100 million. They have around 30 million users, but they are expecting 50 millions and 100 millions in coming days. And they are running their load balancer to balance the load between their applications. They have 3-tier architecture: tier 1 for the web servers, and then second tier for the application server, and then there is a database server. They are running on the Oracle rack. Yeah. So since it's an application where they are recording the user's information, they have a hard requirement to be compliant, because they are recording PII information. So they have to be cognizant about it. So this is what their application uh, architecture is right now, and then it is called as a CSI persona. CSI is the company name. Persona is an application name, and they want to revamp everything and want to launch new product with the span of 6 months. So guys, since morning we are talking about it does take time to understand the innovation need to be applied, and new modernization need to be done. For this customer, they want to achieve in the span of 6 months. They are very much aspirant for going for the containers, going for the Lambda, going for the other services. So what do you think? Will they be able to pull out in their first initial 6 months? Because even yet they might not have enough skill set with them as well, right? It does take time to develop that. So we will figure out how do we do that. So now this is on to the capturing the information in on this slide. So if in case you are not able to read out the uh, case study in the Word doc, they are doing what? They are having the name of application persona, need to register, authenticate the paying users, and they want to use the users login information to create a better analytics out of it. So they are also aspiring to create uh, an application to enrich their offerings. And why are they doing that? Because they have a new competitor. The name is ICS. and this competitor has mobile solution as well. Yeah, so they have a solution which is mobile friendly, so that's another motivation for CSI to launch something better than the market already offering. So currently 10 million users, but they are expecting 100 million. So this is 100 million, by the way. 100 million users they are expecting. They had outages where they lost revenue and customer satisfaction. Persona is 12 years old, unfriendly for the mobile devices. They are currently running WebSphere, which is running on Linux, has additional cost to it. They want to optimize the cost. They have to do something about it. Cost for the VM licensing, VMware, Java operations applications they are running, and Oracle RAC they are running. Yeah, so because of all which cost is rising as well. So their hardware is end of life, and they need to refresh. They need to procure buy more servers. Yeah, software license are also increasing the cost, and processes for launching the new products. The processes are very lengthy, which they want to uh, become. They want to become more agile altogether. Yeah, so they here the thing is to notice that they have 6 months of time frame to pull everything together, improve customer experience, and one thing is importantly to note that they have skill gaps in staff for operating onto the AWS. They are in the process of learning. They have just taken their first step, right? So to pull many things together in the first 6 months, it would be a lot of ask. So if I say today you are the SA for this, what do you do with this information? Where do you go from here? What would be the first step? How to approach it further? Obviously, we are going to understand from the well architect framework, but first making an understanding what are their typical requirements from a functional point of view and from non-functional point of view. Two things. So what is functional requirements are? You define the requirements on the application level. So like who is creating this information? Here the information who is creating the inputs to the applications, who is adding the inputs. Like in this case, in application, I will log in as a user. I will enter my information, my age, my name, my zip code, and everything. And after that, that information will be put into the application. So you should understand from the functional point of view what type of records I'm giving to the applications, right? From the customer point of view, what type of data, how much of data, what sources are there, mobile, it is bringing from the mobile, it is bringing from the IoT, video, users. Yeah, users is typically, human is the best creator of the structured data, right? So like a user information, and then there is a computer generated information as well. There is a user very structured information and computer generated, like using my information, my age, my zip code, my salary. They will create an analytics onto it and send it to send some information to me back, like you should apply for this job. That is computer generated data. So you should be cognizant about what are the requirements there, what type of data is there, what are the data you are putting into the applications, right? So what application does it at core? Like here, what this application does, they take the input user information, they authenticate, create a security token, and then let you log in. Then you can log into their CRM solution, they can log into your gaming platform or whatever. So understand from the functional point of view. Yeah, how many operating systems they are running, are they using containers, what they are using, output is like where the output will be stored. So will you put my pictures onto the S3 or into the archival? Because yeah, it depends. So you should understand about this information. So then there is a non-functional. Each of these facets are not specifically element of an application architecture, like durability, reliability. Sorry, now it is on to your slide. So these facets, not specifically element of the application, but they need to be considered when designing a solution, guys. It's a very important: management, monitoring, CloudWatch, Cloud Monitor, Cloud Trail. All those the aspects of non-functional are to be considered as well. I know already you must be something would be brewing in your mind, like, okay, for this customer we can do that. This is how they can move. Let's see from the case study point of view. Yeah. So what are their functional requirements were? So their functional requirements from the application purpose enable users to register, log in to the organization and permit access to the other applications. That was their typical functional requirement. And they need a machine to pass a request for a login, like giving authentication token. So that's what they are looking forward for. Yeah. On to the other hand, non-functional, they are going to hit 100 million user in coming months. So as this, they predicted, like they will have a more user-friendly approach, more new features. They will acquire more users, right, in the market as well. So they need to be prepared for that scalability. That's a non-functional requirement, but you have to consider that for the future, not just focusing on the application functional requirement, but also the non-functional, like from the compliance point of view. And their goal was to achieve the 100% availability. If in case not 100%, in this interview they said, okay, 99%, 99.99% is still acceptable. Yeah. So they also want a supporting the version for mobile challenged users, to show empathy for the users, and they want in the multiple languages as well. So those all are non-functional requirements. Yeah. So from the case study, from the data services, database point of view, they have a requirement of adding username, password, and some additional information. So it will be typically 1 kbps or less for per registered user. Yeah, so that's what are the elements. So total scale is difficult to predict, but could be very large. They want to support 100 million users. So guys, what do you think? What they shall use? What they shall start with? What would be your idea to that? I know it will be a lot of answers in the if we had a chat option, but yeah, let's go one by one. They since it's a transactional problem, not an analytics problem, they can they shall not consider using EMR, which is to process and analyze, yeah, workload. And as this is a database required, they can go for DynamoDB, right? DynamoDB does solve their purpose. But one thing we need to consider, because DynamoDB can scale up and scale down, it's a serverless is also available, which is uh, um, taking care of customers' use case, right? They can go for EC2, and with that they can go for auto scaling. But we are thinking of pulling things in 6 months, so we want to increase the productivity as well, right? So there is a one limitation, that customers staff currently has a strong relational database skills. So the idea of using the DynamoDB would not be the right choice right now. Why? Because DynamoDB is non-SQL database. So for this customer use case, they can go for RDS, right? Initially, they can go for the RDS, but as they further want to optimize the cost, they shall move on to the open source databases. So for that reason, they shall go for the Aurora. Aurora is at one tenth of the cost as compared to running your commercial database in the cloud, your on-premise, right? So they can go for the Aurora for the databases point of view, and then from the compute and storage point of view. So there is a question which I would like to take: why there are too many DB under RDS? Is your Aurora Service is not preferred by customer. It is preferred by customer, but we give we give option as based on the customer demand. So some of the customers, like in this case, customer have been using Oracle for 12 years already, Krishna Kumar. So as your question is, that why to give lot many options, why don't give you the Aurora only? So customer using Oracle, they have skill set built in over the period of time, but they want to move to the cloud at very rapid pace. Like this customer in a matter of 6 months can be any motivation, right? So for that matter, we have options to move to the Oracle at first. Then there on, you find out what can be done, how you can migrate to the different databases. You have to do the schema conversion. You have to pull off many other things as well. So that's why there are a lot of other options are available. That's a one reason from the functional point of view. Yeah, but giving an example, uh, we already were using in Amazon.com thousands of Oracle databases, right? We wanted to move our application to type of workload we are running. Like for financial, it should be running onto the relational databases, but on the other side, our inventory part can go for the non-SQL database. So we also moved from Oracle one type of relation database to the multiple type of databases engine. Now we running everything on Amazon.com in a specific type of databases. So there is a multiple choices are given to our customers, also not letting them to be into any punitive lock-in uh, of customer licensing. They want to get out of Oracle, they want to get out of SQL, they can go for open source, which is given by the Aurora. So yeah, that's the motivation behind that. Okay, so onto the compute and storage. Current staff has a strong Java skills, which is fine, but they want to optimize the cost, so they can run it Apache. Yeah, certainly they can. They have total scale right now. Total scale is difficult to predict, but that could be large. So we are not sure the usage. So we need something which will help us to meet the demands when it increases and also decrease the resources as well. Want ability to scale up and scale down. Serverless could work. Want to minimize change from legacy registration system as well. So they can certainly move to the Lambda, but right now in the initial time, they might have some challenges with their skills, with their understanding, with all recording everything as well. Yeah. So by the way, everything on the left side is self-explanatory, which we can have a. We also had a discussion on the debrief, but let's understand from the what can be used in the purple color. You can see they can manage Java using open source Apache Tomcat, so cost is optimized, right? They can go for the Amazon EC2, which they can automatically scale up, scale down. They can use containers. Yeah, so they can use the containers, but that may add too much complexity because, as mentioned, they are not in position to record anything and change anything from the legacy application side. But in the next phase, they might consider it, right? And from the serverless side, they can go for the Fargate, they can go for Lambda, which will work well. But right now, for them, is using the Amazon EC2 would be the best choice, given their skills, given their current experience with the AWS services. And yes, for storages, they can use EBS for local storage attached to the EC2 instances and Amazon S3 for the backups. Yeah, so they can now use S3 for the backups. So that's how they can use it. So now moving on one by one, understanding from the architectural point of view, what should be the proposed output. So guys, just hold tight. It's the last 5 to 10 to 15 minutes we are going to cover up. Yeah, so that's why we are not including the lunch break. We are getting requests for the lunch breaks. I understand we all are hungry, but it's just like last 15 minutes we are going to cover our architecture. Just stay there. Yeah, so I'm taking you back to the pillars we had talked about. So from the five pillar point of view, from operational excellency, from security, reliability, performance, efficiency, and cost optimization. So, guys, I need your intervention. So, just try to add your answers in question tab or whatever chat option you have in your console. Just add your answers. So, what do we see in our first phase? Typically, we just migrated. Yeah. So what you see on your screen right now, they moved their three-tier architecture to the AWS in availability zone 1. So it's a basic view, basically proposed solution architecture once you migrate. We have not considered any pillar yet. It's just a lift and shift. Well, one thing is a change here. For the migration, customer moved to the RDS. Since they were running on the Oracle, uh, they can move to the RDS, which is managed, which has a managed Oracle database option as well. Web tier private, app tier private, data tier private. So from the lens of reliability, if we had to make it reliable, what do you think we could do next about it? So think from the lens of reliability. What reliability means? Fault tolerance, highly available. So what we can introduce in this regard to make it high available? How we can improve this architecture? From the database point of view, from the server point of view? Good. We are getting a lot of answers. Guys, add more information. CloudFront, there was, from the high availability point of view, uh, CloudFront is basically from the performance point of view, mostly. Okay, yeah. So we got amazing answers, and most of them were right to use the second availability zone. So second point of failure. So single point of failure is now being covered. If in case web tier goes down, we had nothing to run as an operation, uh, as a backup option, right? So once now this happens, your users traffic coming from the internet will come to the load balancer. Few of the answers were with the load balancer as well. I really love them. So they can transfer the traffic knowing the health of the EC2 instances available, right? If this is not serving, traffic will be sent here. So we have used two load balancer here for each web tier. Each tier, web tier as well as app tier. And onto the database side, we have replication added for the RDS. Yeah, so it is a multi-AZ option we have considered. If one database goes down, there will be second available. Secondary instance will be available. So are they advisory set up on AWS EC2 instance level, just like that we have for Oracle for tuning on diagnostic problems? I'll see that. So let's now think from the second lens, from the performance efficiency, guys. So what if in case my EC2 instances are already uh, overrunning, like they have already running on 90% of usages, and they are not able to match the demand coming in. So how I can improve the performance here in? Yes, right answer. We can go ahead and apply the auto scaling group. So if in case uh, on the private subnet in the web tier something is not performing well, we can add more machines. We can add more EC2 instances. And with that, we can also use CloudFormation as a tool to facilitate repeatability and global deployment if in case you want to deploy in a different architecture as well. So from the performance point of view, the core service to use is auto scaling. Along with, you can think of CloudFormation at this pillar at this point of time. Yeah. So if you want to go for the global deployment, you can have this all infrastructure as a code right now as well. Yeah. So now what about cost optimization, guys? So what do you think how we can optimize the cost? And one thing to observe here, we have now Aurora in place. Yeah, why? Because Aurora is from the lens of scaling, it has a serverless available. Yeah, so it will automatically scale up, scale down. So you do not have to manage things on the scaling. We moved from Oracle to Aurora for the scaling purposes at first. So now from the cost lens, what do you think? What should be done? What we can improve in the from the cost point of view? Because database is fixed, we can go for S3 Glacier. Uh, yeah, backup. Okay, that's for the backups. So old backups, you can use the Glacier for archival data. So Josie says use pod instances. So what if in case I use all of my pod instances and if those are taken away from me after there's a huge surge in the demand of uh, spot instances, so that could be little difficult, to use it from the, I understand that will reduce the prices, but you have to think from an architectural point of view. If I use all of them, spot instances might be difficult. So what do you think, what should be done? So Pavitra says CloudWatch for monitoring. Yes, we can give a good view on what we and where we are spending. That's one of the good point. What else? Reserve instances. Right. So exactly, we can use the right combination between the reserve instances and on-demand instances and spot instances. We can use a mix of instances, guys. So good answers, by the way. There was not any wrong answers. I was just trying to urge you to think more about it. So yeah, you can use the right mix of EC2 instances, so you can uh, have the right cost expenditure, right? So yes, you can use Kubernetes manage, but right now, Pawan, if you remember, this customer is just with the 6 months of experience, and they don't want to re-architect things onto the application side. They just want to lift and shift and use the cloud for their maximum benefits. They don't want to do much on the application side. They want to do more on the things on the cloud side. So what cloud capabilities, platform capabilities they are leveraging right now. But yes, second phase would be to consider that. You are just 2 slides ahead of me. So that's fine. And yeah, you right. So schedule instance timings. You are right, Sandeep. There are a lot of lenses we can look at. So from the security point of view, what we can add a lot of features, security groups. We can add IAM. We can add Shield. Uh, because it's a web application, we can add a WAF. So yeah, you can use a lot of tools down there from the security lens. And obviously from the compliances, you are already inheriting the PCI compliant and compliant platform already. Yeah. So, so ultimately that was the proposed CSI solution architecture from all of the lenses. Right now we are seeing the operational excellence. So what is being done here? So right now on your screen, they have created the CloudFormation template of whole infrastructure. If in case something goes wrong, they can launch it once again in a matter of minutes, right? They can launch the whole architecture rather than reprovision everything. They can manually, they can do it automatically using CloudFormation and with the conjunction of CloudStar. So yes, thank you all of you for adding your answers. I really appreciate that. And there is some question I will have a look into that. So as a database guy, to understand the breadth of Aurora and post to any of the customers, yeah, we run a migration session and database session wherein we talk about that. Obviously, I will share a link also, bro, with you, which you can have a look onto, and some case studies which you can refer while you are talking to your customers. The scalability and yeah, features of Aurora. Okay, so good. We should not forget that customer is always having big ideas, very much aspirant. The same case with this CSI as well. They should go move ahead, then think beyond the scope of uh, just lift and shift to changing into the microservices architecture using containers, using Lambda, and infusing the big data. For, as you remember, they wanted to use big data solution as well for their running the analytics on their users information. They can go for S3. What they can do on S3, they can create their own data lake. Yeah, and they can go for the DevOps and CI/CD for operational excellency and faster iterating new uh, launches as well. So databases, they can go for further on DynamoDB. Right now they have skill set of relational database, but they can go for DynamoDB in future once they have skill set on NoSQL databases as well. And yes, go for Elastic Cache if demand increases. So security, guard duty, WAF, many other services for performance and global reach. They are expecting customers in a different geos as well. They can leverage the new and older as well, all regions available, and use the CloudFront for better performance point of view. EC2 pricing, explore what are the new services, what are the new features, saving plans are available for customer to optimize the cost. Good. So thank you. So there is a question on us, Subarao. So been answered by my colleague. So thank you. So it's a last thing to consider to have a takeaways what we have discussed. The things we had been talking about since morning. So identify which application that looks good candidate for migration. I'm sure everyone on the call right now, more than 300 people, are considering what can be moved to the cloud. I tell you one thing, one small example. A couple of weeks back, I was having a conversation with one of my friend. She was upset about something. I asked what exactly has happened. She said, right now, as it is a lockdown in all country, she's a, by the way, a mobile application tester. So she cannot run the more tests because mobile is not with her. So they run the test on iPads, mobile, iOS, and Androids, right? So be ready for any of the situations. So on, I advise her, there's a cloud form, one of the solution onto the AWS they can leverage. So you have to think about what can help you further, which application can move. That was just a rough example came into my mind when I thought about identify the applications. So be ready. So find a good candidate for migration, focus on conversation on specific requirements and the goals. Don't over commit sometimes to the customer. That's a wrong choice of word. But what I mean by that, in your initial stage, think about what can be done so you can consider your victory. Yeah, so considering a victory means like for this customer persona very particularly, we have seen that they wanted to achieve everything in 6 months. If I would have been committing them, let's go for the Lambda, re-architect everything, I might spend 12 more months, or you know, a lot of time spending on the re-architecting the platform. Might not pull off the things they were looking forward. Their priority was to get things on track in regards to resilience, in regards to the cost optimization. So that's been achieved in a first phase. Maybe next would be to understand where they can further optimize, and you invent once you are in the next phase. Yeah. So understand their speed and feeds, understand the business operational context. That's very important for solution architect to understand from technology point of view, from the business point of view, from the training, hiring, and determining where they need to focus on, right? Understand, hammer all of those things in there. So design a solution that address both set of requirements, business and operational. Define measurable time bound success criteria. You put your milestones, like after 9 months we will have 20% of cost optimized. Once I move my workload from S3 to Glacier, like I have a 5 terabyte, 20 terabyte already living in my data center, I move it to the cloud. If I move it to the Glacier, it might have little higher cost in the initial stage because of additional uh, requirements. There are some of them which you will find. So but you will have a break even point after 1 or 2 months or couple of months. So define your milestones, which where you can define the success. Deliver, measure, and validate and repeat. Keep on improving the applications, the possibility where you can improve the customer environment. How? Running the well architect reviews with the customers, understanding their current workloads and how those can further optimized. So what are the key values and what are the key things to notice for a solution architect? Dive deep, understand the requirements, learn and use the well architect framework, earn the customer trust, play a longer game. So you keep on improving their architect, helping them not from the business point of view, but also running the customers application on the platform for a longer period of time. Yeah. So educate them over their journey, make sure they understand what exactly you are doing and how you are helping them with their objectives of digital transformation. It's very important to have the transparency to share with them their success as well. Iterate, invent, and simplify. Very, very important. We keep on adding new services, we keep on adding new features. Find out how your architectures will become more robust by new services, new features as well, and innovate on those lines. Guiding principles. Lastly, just want to say migration is a complex process. It's just a beginning. It's not an end point. Yeah. So from there on, you take your customers with their modernization, understand their needs, help with your expertise, and act in your customers' long-term interest, in their best interest. Long-term, with your professional service revenue considered as a success. With that, I would just put the curtain off from the curriculum point of view, and then rest of the answers will take on your questions. And starting with first, there are a couple of slides I want to walk you through. Free tier account for all of you to try out things. There were many questions already been answered by our team on free tier. Yeah, you can go ahead and for 12 months you can try out. I know there would be a lot of curiosity amongst all of you, like how you can try out things, how you can find how you can get your hand dirty, yeah, without obviously incurring charges. So yeah, this is what you can go through and try out things. And then there is next step. So where are we? Monday we were here to understand the technical professional point of view. Today we understand from the architectural point of view uh, how I can think of now building architectures, building the bringing the blocks together, right? And the next step could be for you to go for the cloud practitioner essential online training. Just give me 1 minute, I will share a link with you. But very easy, one thing you can do is write down on a Google learning path for cloud practitioner. This will appear there. Then you can go for your first certification, cloud practitioner. It is not limited for a specific role, like you do not have to be database admin, you don't have to be any, uh, managing any IT particular resource. Either you are in legal, you are marketing, anywhere, whichever area, LOB you are in, finances, anything, you can go for this first certification, certified cloud practitioner. This is our foundation certification. And with that, you can have your journey mapped further by attending our other courses, and then you can broaden for your journey onto the associate exam of solution architect. Should be your next step after the cloud practitioner. Yeah, by the way, it's not a hard requirement that you have to clear cloud practitioner first. You can directly go for this as well if you are confident enough. Yeah. Okay, so that's the place where you will get a lot of trainings free of cost for all of you. So you have a lot of questions on containers, on ECS, on Lambda. You will find trainings helping you to get accustomed with those services. Uh, Around 1,000 digital courses are available there for our partners. And certification. So here we are with the foundation one, which you can go for to begin with, and architect, operation, developer are on the associate level. Next step you can consider based on your role. Yeah, so architect is general understanding the all services, not all 175, but different segments from the technology, security, and uh, platform point of view. You can have a architect exam, and if you are in the operation side, you can go for the sysops, you can go for developers, and then there is a professional one. And if in case you have been in a very specific um, area, like for big data, there are specialty course for networking. You can go for the advanced networking specialty, which will talk a lot about VPCs and all those things. Security, Alexa, and machine learning. And another one, there is DB, database specialty as well, which we launched last month. You can go for that too. So all these courses you can appear from your home. You do not have to go outside. Well, architect again, you can find this. Sorry, it's not yet moved. Your screen are still on the certificate. Okay, you can, yeah, well architect, there is a, if you want to review well architect to be prepared for your customer architectures creation, you can review this page as well, has a lot of information. Yes, you can appear from home for all of your examination. So security, we have a security fundamental on AWS courses, which is free of cost available as well. So as you know, security, we take it very seriously. It's a job zero at AWS. That's what we call it. So have a go at security fundamentals. And if in case you are looking forward for security operation on AWS 3-day class, which is a probably a paid class, you can go for that too. And cloud security, there are some area you can also dive deep and understand. White papers are available. So for you to be aware about all the new features, new information, most of them are launched in our blogs, in our podcast. I love this podcast. Yeah, I listen it a lot. And there is another podcast I nowadays listen a lot, is Screaming in the Cloud. That's a fun way of learning the cloud as well. So yeah, that's by the way from the partners, but from this is the official AWS podcast as well. And then there is a APN blogs which you can follow. And yeah, there it is. So thank you who has put in there. So this is my architecture YouTube channel is there. Yeah, once I will share with you, you can have a look onto that. So guys, yeah. So for those who likes to read it from the books, can buy this book. So link is in the guide. With that, I want to say thank you all of you for joining in today, and special thanks to the team who has helped us, all of us, with all of your question answers. So answers to your questions. Keep those all URLs shared with you. Obviously, that will help you. You can copy them, and you can refer them at later stage. So thank you guys. Now here I am for probably 2 minutes. We can have some of the questions you might have. Uh, Obviously, I cannot open the line for all of you. We have more than 300 people uh, in this line, so might add 300 more minutes to it. So, guys, let us know if we can quickly answer any of your questions. Can you go to the book suggested slide? Yes, I will share this slide, guys, by the way, with you, so you can have a look onto that. But yes, uh, here it is. So you can go for it if you are going for the solution architect. So all the documents which I refer to in today's presentation, I will share with you. Guys, just give me some time. I want to buy some time because for larger audience, I have to mark you uh, individually. I know. So there can be some delay. I usually get emails uh, that you have not yet received the content. I will do it tomorrow. I will share each and everything with you. So I'll wait for some time to get the right report and then share with you. So there is no assessment today, but those who are willing to do it, they can go for. By the way, they can check our solution. Sorry, not solution. It's our uh, foundation course, one of our uh, technical professional course. They can go and appear for assessment if you are willing to. There are multiple attempts, so information gained from today's session, if in case that can help you, you can appear for that assessment, or maybe that will be a brainstorming to understand which area you need to focus on more. So yeah, you can go for that assessment if you want to go there as well. So it's really worthy. By the way, are these books freely available? No, I don't think so. I went myself trying to buy them, but those were not for free. But if in case you are using your, what we call it, uh, Fire tablets, yeah. So I'm not promoting one of another Amazon's product, but yeah, if in case you are using the not Fire, it's you're using Kindle, which has a one model I think named as Fire. So uh, you can use PDF as well for the same book available. I think you can buy it from the Amazon itself. Can you provide the link of that assessment? Oh yeah, so if in case you want to go for that, to all of you, I want you to have attention for a minute on my screen. So there it is. So how do I generally do that? Uh, so yeah, anything you want to find out your learning path. So learning path for example, technical professional. Okay, so there is a, no, yeah, there it is. Yeah, there is a technical professional. You can go in there. This is a recommended progression. So all of these trainings you can go through. You can find there is a digital 3 hours course which you can go for. Yeah. So I cannot log in, but I can certainly share this link with all of you. It must take you there. Yeah, you can open this training and can in the last module there will be an assessment. You can attempt it at least. So what link? Okay, so where can I enroll for these sessions for AWS training? Okay, so here you can enroll yourself for the upcoming trainings. So there is a link for all of you. We run trainings in different geos, which you can join based on your time zone, which fits you well. You can join uh, running in Singapore, running in Australia, in India, any of them you want to you when go for, you can join them. Guys, don't share your emails specifically because I should have them with me. So I won't be able to take one by one from the chat and put into the email. Since I have it from the system, I will be able to send you across. Yeah, so whichever email you have used to sign up for this course, will on that we will send you the information. So guys, if you have any further questions, do let us know. We are waiting for if you have any questions. Else, I can give you your few hours back so you can have some rest, or obviously your lunch. And yeah, I will also go for the lunch too. Okay, so where are you pasting these links? I'm sharing these links with all of you, so sending to all. You should be able to see in your chat box. By the way, we need a chat bot which help you to answer all of your queries automatically. Okay, so is there is any completion certificate we'll receive for today's session? Yes, guys, you will receive a completion of certificate of this session, and as I said, it will be in your transcript by EOW end of this week. So, hi, how do I have course material as I miss some topics as I work from home? Don't worry, guys. So, if in case you have missed some of the part, here is the training which we have done today in a very curated fashion. This is one classroom training for the whole day. You can see here. This is a digital training which you can refer to. Yeah, I am not able to get link. Let me just log in, then I can share a specific link with all of you. Okay, with that, so I will just share this link and would thank you all of you for joining in. And yeah, so I'll wish you happy learning. Explore the platform more, go for the cloud practitioner, prepare for that, and for that we have a lot of trainings on digital platform. You should go for this link on your slide right now. Just a second, I will. Okay, so for those who wants to do this today's uh, training once again on digital platform, they can go for it. Thank you. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Have a good rest of the day. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Take care. And thank you, everyone. Thank you, my team as well, helping me uh, and all of us with their answers. Take care. Bye bye.